This episode was brought to you by the following patrons: Sunzi, Stephanie, Wolfric, Natasha, Laura, Sophia, Gorotica, Vance, Cody, Boeasy, Jeremy, Brother, Ali, Nathan, Jennifer with a PH, Mr. Ragebomb, Libby, Wes, Driscoll, Aaron, Kristen, Tia, Lauren, Jonathan, Kate, Alex, Isaac, and Karoon. And if you want to hang out with us, please do so in the Facebook group where we and Annabelle hang out daily.
Todd, it's the wife's fault for not supporting her doctor husband when he was trying to work. Like, dealing with demons that try to steal your children is traditional woman's work. She should have dealt with that at home. That's woman's work.
I don't think that that's true, Mikey.
Yeah, we go to work, Todd, drink our coffee, go around the water cooler. Your woman is at home
battling the supernatural?
Yeah, with the
We're
whole
better
water.
at it.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's more of an us thing in traditional gender roles.
And frankly, adult toy collectors, fuck them.
You hear that? Everyone who owns a pop figurine or maybe a Micro Machine Sandcrawler.
You hear that? Every main character this month. Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week we watched Annabelle. So was this the first time either of you had seen this one?
Yes.
Well, I'd seen Rosemary's Baby before, so it kind of felt like I had seen this one.
I dug it. Yeah, it does give a nice kind of rip-off vibe.
Yeah.
I honestly haven't seen Rosemary's Baby.
They named the main characters after the actors in Rosemary's Baby, and then this movie proceeds as if somebody saw Rosemary's Baby and was like, what if I wrote this again, but with a Sharon Tate angle? Oh, I have to put a doll in it? Fine.
Do we have to use her as the main villain like Chucky? Oh, no, she's just going to be around static in the corner? We can do
just
that.
There.
Yeah, okay.
No. We'll just zoom into her face after something scary happens.
I mean, she is like Elf on a Shelf, but instead of like looking at your kids, it's like overseeing what the demon's doing.
Yeah, she's the elf on the shelf that instead of reporting back to Santa is reporting back to like the kings of hell or whatever.
Oh, sorry.
Don't mind me. I'm just a doll reporting to Charles Manson. Like, that's what's happening in this movie.
Hey, girl, what that demon do? I thought this movie kind of blew its load a little early. Like, I was like, like the first, like the Manson stuff at the beginning when the people break into their house, like kill the neighbors and they come over. It was so scary.
That was
I was like,
so
wow.
scary. When he comes out of the house, like the husband comes out of the house.
Yes.
Like that jump scare fucking terrified me. Like that whole thing is super tense, super effective, like very scary.
Right. It should have been a short film and ended there because anything after that was bad. It was all bad.
As someone who knows too much about the Manson case, enough to ruin parties, I was not quite as scared during those moments. Although I like, if you had not included Manson at all, I would have been more scared.
100%. I just thought the people breaking in trying to kill them was scary.
Yes.
Sure. I think for me, one of the scariest scenes, and I'll burn a fun fact, it was one of the few scenes in this movie directed by James Wan, is the elevator.
That's the only scary one.
Shit, that scared the hell out of me, man. Like that whole sequence and the home invasion sequence at the very beginning, like those are the two hardest moments to get through. And I'm going to rate this pretty high on the scary scale. I started watching this last night.
Really?
Yeah, I watched this last night. It was dark and I got to the elevator scene, which I think is like 45 minutes into the movie.
It's a little over an hour in, but yeah.
Yeah, I think there was like 40 minutes left. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
But I paused it and I was like, I have to come back to this tomorrow morning. And I watched the rest of it this morning because I like could not handle it.
When it was like the third or fourth time and it opened it was the same room. I was like,
oh my God,
what do you even fucking do? What do you even do?
I know.
What do you do in that moment? And then she sees the exit and makes a run for it. I was just like, this is tense and scary. And it's probably the only reason this will rate higher than a 1 or 2 for me.
Really? In that scene, I was like, I would just sit in that elevator and be like, look, I ain't coming out of the elevator.
You better come in here and get me.
Yeah.
I am not getting out of this elevator.
Yeah.
Now, this will not bother everyone with this movie, but it very personally bothered me. If you are setting a movie in a specific time period and you do a bunch of things to to make that.
You mean like 911 not existing at the time?
Not only that, it did exist in a way. And I think that's more just a movie. Like, it would be confusing for modern audiences watching the movie to not have that be the case. For me, it was the photographs in the police files not being old. And then there were a number of her clothes are always 1960s. The house is mostly, although they don't quite get it right. But then a bunch of the baby stuff is just modern, full modern. And as someone who is unhealthily obsessed with mid-century design and stuff, it drove me fucking nuts through the entire fucking movie, because I'd be like, okay, this piece is clearly extant garments. This is from the time. That's from Target. Just the whole movie.
It's like a mismatch of modern and 60s shit.
Yes, it was half and half. And very clearly, one of the only reasons they set it in the 60s is A, so it could be tangentially related to the Warrens, but then B, because they were very clearly just trying to remake Rosemary's Baby for some reason. And Rosemary's Baby is actually made in the 60s and is beautiful. I understand it is problematic because of the director. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. But from a film design standpoint and the set decoration, which they tried to emulate in this movie, is top notch. It is beautiful. And this movie is just see, we're doing it too. I'm like, no, you aren't. You literally have a Target baby blanket sitting right there, front and fucking center. They hand her the baby in modern, hospital swaddling clothes.
Yes, that bothered me too. Are they the same blanket from 70 years ago or whatever?
No, it is not even remotely. Also, they would typically just anesthetize women in the 60s.
Ugh.
Yeah, you gave birth unconscious. My grandmother did. It was wild. Not always, but a lot of the time. The hospital is almost completely modern. I was like, what are we doing here? It is a historian's nightmare, this movie. I do appreciate them setting it in Pasadena through part of the last part of the movie, because Pasadena is haunted AF.
Is it?
Oh my. Well, that's where Jack Parsons did his experiments.
Well, I mean, that doesn't make it haunted. It just means that's where a lot of sex magic went down.
Oh, so if that's the case, my house is haunted.
No, Todd, I'm about to blow your mind. So the apartment building they use is actually in Hollywood. They don't use one that is in Pasadena, but it is supposed to look like one in Pasadena that was an older kind of mansion that then got converted into apartments that is said to be super duper haunted. And I had to make deliveries there one time, and that place has a fucking vibe. It is not cool.
Paige, they have a doll. They don't have to do any of that work, okay?
I guess. They have a doll and the script from Rosemary's Baby. They don't have to do anything. It's fine.
What do you want, Anna? What do you want? And she's like, I wrote on the wall, I want your baby's soul or whatever. And
Oh, you thought Annabelle wrote the stuff on the ceiling? I thought the demon did that, because Annabelle doesn't move at all in this movie.
Oh, that's one of the other anachronistic things is that crayon.
Crayon didn't exist back then?
No, it did, but that's a 1980s crayon as opposed to the crayons that would have been available in the 1960s. The one thing I do love in this movie is we get Annabelle Wallis again, and she plays Haunted better than anybody else.
Yeah.
Yes.
I loved seeing her in movies, man. I'm like, let me see them Bacter arms, girl.
Oh, I am willing to watch pretty much anything in which she does this, and I know listeners can't hear this, but just where she's clawing at the sides of her face. I'm like, yes, bitch, rip it, that wig ass wig. Let's go.
I just felt the movie really fell apart about halfway through, and they're like,
yeah,
we got to get rid of the husband. Just have him not show up anymore. Okay. Boom.
See, Mikey, I thought for sure they were going to pull the same kind of shit that Rosemary's Baby pulled.
Right, where he's part of it?
Yes! And I was like, that would have been so scary, but no.
Instead, he's like, I believe you. And they're like, where have you been for an hour? He's like, I was at work. Why didn't you get rid of this demon? This is woman's work.
Yeah, that's what he was thinking. His internal monologue was that. Like, God, my wife can't even handle a demon. This is what I get for marrying one with Bacter arms.
Crack an egg once in a while.
He like comes back. He's like, so you sit at home enjoying your stories. You didn't even get rid of the demon. I was like, the dishes aren't done. Like, it's all part of your chores, okay? I'm a doctor.
Did you not see the chore wheel my mother made for you? Because you know that's what it would have been, Paige.
Absolutely. But that's why, and I know we won't do it on the show because of the director. I understand.
Are you saying you only got rid of 70% of the demon?
but in Rosemary's Baby, and Todd, I know you haven't seen it, so that's why I am comfortable telling you.
I haven't, but my mom saw it in theaters, and it's the only horror movie she's ever seen. And my mom and I have very similar like sensibilities when it comes to horror movies. Like,
it's not jump scary. It is not.
I'm sure I could get through it. Like, I'm sure I've gotten through way worse. No, I'm fine to never watch it.
So in Rosemary's Baby, the husband and the neighbors are in on it.
Okay.
And are part of a cult in the apartment building. Now, granted, the real fun part of Rosemary's Baby is that those neighbors are fucking hilarious. And they're just like crazy busybodies who are just like, how's that baby going? Drink this demon juice. Like, they're just super in the way. One of my favorite things, and if you choose to watch it, watch for this. They're at a terrible dinner party at the end of the movie, and she has a knife that she's like ostensibly going to try and stab her with, and drops it onto the hardwood floor, and then picks it up, but pauses to like rub out the little scratch on the hardwood floor where the knife fell. That's the kind of madness we deal with in Rosemary's Baby. Also, her husband's an actor. He's like an aspiring actor who makes a deal with the devil to get successful.
Oh,
wow,
nice.
who would have thought him and his theater friends were like bad news and not cool?
I know. So like they're in on it, but then he takes her to a therapist to be like, you're seeing ghosts.
I bet that therapist is in on it too.
He is!
I knew it! Never trust a therapist, right, Mikey?
Mikey.
I don't know. He may not have been in on it. He may have just been really bad.
It is technically unclear, but he does turn her back over to them, essentially. So like,
I would be so pissed if my partner in my marriage and all of my closest friends were in a cult and they didn't invite me into it. I would be livid.
Well, we have something to tell you.
What?
yeah.
Paige and I are also in a cult, but like your voice, it's not ritual ready, if that makes sense.
You got to go back of the throat like Mr. Bubs, like.
Yeah. Your voice is like, we're not doing sales pitch to Satan. We're like, like.
Now picture this, Lucifer. Picture this, all right?
It's like, Satan, I'm going to offer up my soul for 30% off. I'm just going to give that 30% off with you if you get this other soul.
I didn't think it was a satanic cult. Now I'm out. I was in when it was all about Dolly Parton, but now I'm out.
I thought we just hated some lady named Jolene.
First of all, how dare you? Secondly, don't take her man. But in Rosemary's Baby, they do a ritual that is definitely assault. And
Yeah, it's bad.
it is bad. I was upset that they didn't have the fucking balls to give Mia in this movie that haircut. I was like, you've done everything but.
Well, if you cut her hair that short, you're going to see her twin that comes out
Her
a few
twin
years
on the back
later
of
in
her head.
Malignant. Yeah, they couldn't keep it short.
The baby was super cute.
That is one of the cutest babies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's
It had giant eyes and it was always
it's like-
kind of smiling. And I was like, whose baby is this? With chubby cheeks.
Somebody give me the baby.
Give me the fucking baby.
Call me Annabelle, because I want a kid. I want to have children in my life. Every time I keep having children, people keep jumping out of windows to try to stop me. It's just so weird.
Oh,
No,
Mikey, no.
Well, with all the like thudding, when they're in the apartment, they can hear the neighbors through the walls. I was like, see, this is why you can't, this is why Jake and I chose not to have children in our apartment. It's just a constant cacophony of awful.
Yeah.
The best part is at the end, they try to make it seem like it's scarier upstairs now with the same noises. I'm like, no, that's just still apartment living. Like they have
Yeah.
to stop their haunting to let their neighbors.
I did think that was sort of hilarious. I was like, okay, your neighbors stomp around. Like, there's a demon in your house. Focus on other sounds. Like, what are you doing?
That's a Rosemary's Baby callback.
Is it? Okay.
Yes, they're doing rituals above them.
Upstairs? Okay.
Upstairs.
But that's not happening in this movie.
No.
It's just like an arguing couple or whatever it was. I don't even know.
Which it could be. So at my apartment, it is just children whose parents have given them basketballs and roller skates because apparently they don't believe we should sleep ever. Great. But in Armando's apartment, it was a fighting couple that would fight and make up and then have sex to the song Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Hell,
Which
yes. Just like on a loop, or it never took more than 3 minutes and 38 seconds.
First of all, that song is longer than you think. Secondly, it was typically the length of the song. Also, that's not really a pump. Like, if you're trying to get into a rhythm, tough song. But now, Armando and I, as a joke, that's always the song that we suggest that people play during sex and any joke or anything everywhere.
That still puts the sex clocking in at, and I looked it up, Paige, 4 minutes and 47 seconds. So,
it's almost 5 minutes.
I hope you can get it quick, ladies.
That is a long, yeah.
Yeah. I walk this lonely bone, the only bone that I have ever boned.
And then you have to like keep that rhythm, and I guess just double time it towards the end.
That's not a terrible rhythm.
It's pretty slow, dog. We don't have to talk about this. This is like,
I mean, that's a making love kind of rhythm. You know what I'm saying?
Making love, but to Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
And not feel like making love, which is a similar tempo.
That is true.
Maybe we should just get into this movie so we can go through it scene by scene and not break down what songs we'd prefer to fuck to.
Yeah.
For me, it's Through the Fire and the Flames. Come at me, nerds.
Try and set your pump ratio to that.
All you need is antibiotics, and those fires and those flames will go away.
You know what? I probably should rethink the title to another super long Dragon Force song.
I was just picturing having to do it in Guitar Hero. I was just like, how would you ever thrust in rhythm? Like, yeah, it's impossible.
Guitar Hero trained these fingers, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not a jackhammer, Paige.
I'm more of an Inagata-Davida bitch, but whatever.
Mikey, what song do you like to fuck to after you've heard Genuine's My Pony while she was dancing?
That
That is a song I would do it to for shout. Probably, yeah.
I believe it's the one that was from the Excalibur film. What is that? Anna Maria.
I'm just a Bacter
living on my twin's head. What song was it, Mikey?
O Fortuna from
Fortuna.
Damn, you went like old school. Yeah, I only banged to Carmina Burana. Let's go. And I only look deep into their eyes. Like,
give me your O Fortuna face.
Oh, show me that O Fortuna face. God damn. Okay, we have to get into this movie. I realize the movie is a turd burger, but we have to force it out before we can get to something more fun next week.
Okay.
Anyway, it opens with a quote that I did not bother to fully write down because it is nonsense.
Oh, it did open with a quote. Something about evil.
The end of the quote basically says, since the beginning of civilization, dolls have been used as rites and conduits in rituals.
Yeah.
For which I assume they mean things like voodoo dolls, but the idea that it's just like any Barbie could be evil is crazy.
I did have the epiphany that I would be less scared of a smaller haunted toy than a large haunted toy.
I guess it depends on how the haunting bears out. I mean, if it's like this movie where the toy is just present and there's just a fucking giant fuck-off demon, then like, I mean,
that's what I was going to ask, because that's way more scary to me than Chucky is, you know?
Right.
I could kick Chucky in the face all day, but if there's a 6-foot 11-inch demon holding the doll, like, that's scary.
Oh yeah, that demon went first round draft pick NBA last year.
Oh yeah, there's no way that demon right now isn't dunking on somebody.
It could dunk while sitting, just like reach up over its head and...
That demon was a fucking tall ass demon. It's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that's not, to me, that's not even a haunted toy. That's just a haunting in a room with a toy.
Well, and like that toy is like the demon's favorite or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But like the toy itself is not the scary thing, right?
That scene where that tall as fuck demon holds up Annabelle and like jiggles it. I was like,
no, Mikey, that scared the hell out of me.
Oh, it scared you? I was like, why is he holding up the doll doll. Like, this makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I was like, you're a demon.
He's like, it's me. I'm in the doll. And I was like, we get it. I've been in the movie. She knows.
I would have loved to have seen Mia be like, yeah, I get it. Like, what are you doing, you idiot?
Go Lakers or whatever, but damn. I couldn't understand why the demon had the doll at all. I was like, you're a fucking demon. You're so much scarier than anything else in this movie.
Yeah, but look at the doll. And he jiggles it. And I'm like,
look at it.
it's like having the opposite effect where the scene is less scary because he's holding the doll up.
It's like he believes her house is an estate sale and he's just like, I'll give you $10 for this.
That's like if I walked in my bedroom, there's a demon, but they're like holding my micro machines and going like, psh, 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 psh. I'd be like,
They're like playing like you when you were 6 or whatever. You're like, yeah.
I would be like, that's a demon. That's scary. But like, it's playing micro machines, which is weirder. You know, I guess I'll just let them finish.
I guess I'll just call the Ghostbusters and hope he plays till they get here.
I mean, if he just wants to play micro machines, like when I'm gone, like have at it, I guess. You know?
What happened to the ones that like, you know, made dead bird sculptures and like floated Toni Collette's headless body into that treehouse? Like real scary demon shit.
Yeah.
Nah, demons have updated, man. You got to get with the demon times. We're playing with micro machines now. They have pagers. Like it's
Pager.
they're a little behind. Like micro machines had just come out to demons. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right,
you know,
right,
yeah.
right.
So,
I mean-
That's why they're so excited about it.
Yeah.
I saw a demon with an old school Walkman the other day. I was like, damn.
Just walking around outside.
Oh yeah, he's just chilling.
No, we've all got our
Yo,
demons.
put some pants on, man.
Hey, demon.
Doesn't even pay rent.
That's the worst thing about possessions. You're telling me I have to provide whatever they need, but I don't get to write them off of my taxes?
You can't just live in the storage area, demon. That's square footage.
But like literally, the peak scariest scene is supposed to be her going into the baby's room and it's jiggling the doll in front of her. And I was like, okay.
No, I thought the peak scary scene was the elevator shit. That was just like the final
Oh, no.
like build of the movie. Like,
The peak scary scene was the woman stabbing her while she's. I was like, this is terrifying.
oh
That is
yeah,
scary. Or the little girl running at the door. That's a great jump scare.
that got me too. Fuck, man, so scary.
Except the pause between the little girl running and
Yes.
it definitely seems like the other lady was hiding right there. And I was
Yes.
like, this looks kind of bad. This looks like a little
Now,
bad.
here's the thing. I feel like they've done this in a couple other Conjuring films in different ways, and they've gotten better at it.
They definitely have gotten better at it.
By far, the best version of it is still Toni Collette coming out of that fucking corner,
Oh.
like ready to throw bows.
Yes.
Like that's still the best.
In Hereditary, yeah. That's
Yeah.
That literally is the moment I stood up and yelled "fuck" at the screen in the theater. Like that is
Yeah, oh,
so
yeah.
scary. But I mean, this moment got me too. It was super scary.
Mine
Yep.
was when Kylo Ren and Rey kissed at the.
I honestly started laughing out loud at that moment.
I do remember being in the theater and going, what?
It's fine. It's not like any of the new Star Wars movies were good. So,
Shut up. Oscar Isaac was in some of them, and he was fun to watch.
I mean, if you're not Rogue One and you happened after Return of the Jedi, I'm out.
The best part
That's
is the
fair.
sequel trilogy is so bad that like they stopped making movies. They just stopped making Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And then they made all these shows before the sequel trilogy. And like, you know, all of them are like, how do we make this good stuff go into that bad stuff so we can make other good stuff again? Like, what is the mental gymnastics we're going to have to do here? And they're finally being like, there were other Jedi around during that time. They just weren't involved. Like they said that like last week.
Anyway, we barely even started this movie. We just like ran off on a crazy tangent.
We went to the quote.
we did the quote. Eat a dick, chat.
We cut to two nurses who have brought the doll to someone. I think it's Ed and Lorraine. We just they don't really reveal it, but they're basically just like, here's what happened. It started moving around by itself, and we got in touch with a medium, and the medium said that it's this girl, Annabelle Higgins, and we
Yeah.
tried to help her, but then things got worse. And we cut to Santa Monica, California 1 year earlier, which is impossible, by the way, because by the end of this movie,
Like 2 years go by. Yeah.
that baby's
That
like
baby's
almost a
straight
year
up
old.
crawling on the ground. That baby comes out 20 pounds, basically.
Yeah.
Which is why I could take a stab wound, I guess, because it was a toddler. I know that's not I mean, I'm sorry, but I mean, like, I'm glad the baby lived. It's just a giant ass baby. You could take a beating. You know what I'm saying?
It had its own knife. It was gonna reach back out and stab back. We haven't even got to that point yet. Hang on.
What's the baby's name? Leah.
Leah, yeah.
Leah's a badass bitch. Just
When
like,
she gave birth to Leah, it's like, why is there Vaseline and razor blades in here?
Why does Leah have a needle prison tat?
she just comes out with
one teardrop?
Teardrop. She killed a lady already.
Leah fears no demon.
She rolls mad deep.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we cut to a couple in church sitting next to their friends. And this is at this point that I realized it was Annabelle Wallace. And I was just like, yes, crazy malignant energy. Let's go.
I know. I love her. She's so great.
I see why Sebastian Stan is into it. High marks, sir.
Oh, are they dating?
Yeah, dude, for like a while. And they only went public like recently. Yeah.
Honestly, good for Sebastian Stan. Like,
I know. I was like, yes, I support this.
I know
like,
he's way more
yes.
famous than she is, but like that's
Don't
a catch
care.
for him.
Not
for
only
sure.
that, they're both in crazy horror movies. I was like, yes.
And good for her, man. He definitely eats ass. So
Anyway, she stands up. She's pregnant. Pregnant.
Pregnant.
They go to leave the church, and the couple that was next to them, the wife has paused by the candles, where she's like lighting a candle and saying a prayer.
Yeah.
And she walks over and is just like, hey, like, we'll find her. It'll be okay. So they go outside. The couple gives them a ride back to their house because they are neighbors. They literally live next door.
Yeah. They like carpooled to church.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's the kind of neighbors they are.
I don't know. They gave a weird vibe.
Well, we'll get into it right here because they asked her like baby names, and she's like, John if it's a boy, and he's like, or Phyllis if it's a girl, and she's like, fuck you, no one's named Phyllis. What's wrong? I have a great aunt named Phyllis.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just saying that couple, that the friend couple next door, if I was their daughter, I'd run away.
I mean, that's fine. I don't think we're saying that she shouldn't have run away, but like she shouldn't have come back and murdered them. I hope that's the part you like think she shouldn't have done.
When we get to that part, we have to talk about Manson and some shit when we get there.
Well, I mean, we're almost there. It happens this night.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Yes. So she's like, no, not Phyllis or whatever. And they go to their separate houses, and she's like, I wish we didn't really talk about the kid in front of them because they just lost their daughter 2 years ago. And they say that she ran off and joined the hippies.
Yeah.
And probably goes by Star. And she's like, well, even Star's a better name than Phyllis. Like, what are you doing?
Have you not seen The Office? We're not naming her after Phyllis, okay?
I mean, my great aunt Phil was kind of legit. I don't know. She believed in aliens and smoked herself to death and like gambled at Thanksgiving dinner. Like, you know, Phil was kind of awesome.
Well, yeah, a demon tried to kill her when she was a baby.
And that demon did not survive. Annie Phil would have taken that shit out.
It did make me realize that modern day we name babies like really dumb things because they're like, Star's a dumb name. And like nowadays I'm like, Star would be like a lovely name for people. They come up with some dumb
You'd be
ass
lucky
baby
to get
names
Star
right now.
instead of Renesmee or something.
Yeah.
Oh, little Khaleesi is at preschool today?
Oh,
Cool.
God.
Oh, I'm sure there are babies named Khaleesi out there.
Khaleesi was one of the most popular baby names
Yeah,
of the
in like
past couple
2018
years.
or something. Yeah, when Game of Thrones was big.
Imagine naming your baby Khaleesi and then seeing the last 2 seasons of Game of
That's
Thrones.
the craziest part because it got popular before.
I would be so livid. Hey, what are you named after? I'm named after a show that people liked and then forgot about because they ruined it.
I'm named after a lady who definitely slept with her own nephew, but then also murdered a bunch of people.
Yeah, a fun character in this book I read.
Super fun.
Yeah, I don't really know. I'm waiting to read the books until the last one comes out. So I'm 20 years old now, so I'm hoping they come out soon.
I am secretly hoping that we'll get a resurgence of Ellie and Joel as names because I'm like, that's fun TV show names, but they're sort of normal names.
Yeah.
Hey, as a person who almost never finds custom keychains and shit at gift shops, sometimes it's nice to have more basic names.
Oh, Paige, you know what name they always have? Todd.
Mine, it would be like, okay, here's Aaron and then special friend or something because they rarely ever had Paige.
I want to mix this movie up with Redeeming Love and see what comes out. Like just kind of like different plot points.
No.
Oh man, I was shut down fast on that one.
Redeeming Love is basically Sexual Assault the movie.
Yes.
Hear me out. But in every background of those scenes, Annabelle, it just zooms in on Annabelle as it transitions out of the scene.
Instead of showing us like the assaults, it like zooms in on Annabelle's face. All right, I honestly probably would have preferred that.
Turns out she was owned by that farmer first.
She's got really bad luck, and then all of a sudden it goes to like Annabelle. You're like, oh,
shit! You're like, oh my God, this whole time I was watching a Cloverfield movie, but it's like the Annabelle version of that.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think the best would have been, so the opening of Redeeming Love where they're like panning for gold and one of them is panning is just like, I found it! And it's just Annabelle the doll.
it's a collector's item.
Eureka!
Have you guys ever seen a more obviously painted evil doll?
No.
They're like, it's the last one we needed. And I'm like, that doll is ugly and evil looking.
It does look like certain types of dolls from the period or slightly before. Like it looks like a collector's item from the time. So she kind of gets on him for not locking the door, which by the way, lock your doors.
Always.
Always.
I'm sure people know that now, but like in the 60s, I could see people still leaving their doors unlocked, because they felt like it was a safe.
People didn't unlock their doors until like the
80s.
2000s.
Some people still don't, because this is a debate online all the time where they're like, well, I live in a neighborhood where you don't have to lock your doors. And it's like,
well, then you still should, you idiot.
Always should lock your doors.
Yeah.
Like,
most crime is a crime of opportunity. Like people, especially with car break-ins,
yes.
They just check the doors and the ones that are unlocked get robbed.
yes. And like, as an adult, I heard the story of Richard Chase in Sacramento, and I was like, double lock the doors.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know the story, he was a man who was not in his right mind and just checked doors, and the doors that opened, he just fucking murdered people.
Yeah.
So like, lock your fucking doors, man, all the time. Anyway.
Don't buy creepy dolls.
And also,
don't buy
creepy dolls. Honestly, yeah. This is why I don't antique. I just assume everything in there is haunted, and I'm not going to fuck with that.
I mean, I've had a pretty good history antiquing of not getting haunted objects, but I also don't buy terrifying dolls. I buy like mid-century hutches.
Yeah, what's going to haunt a hutch?
I mean, the ghost of dishes past, I guess.
Ooh.
But I also own old dishes, so like, whatever.
They'll be
You guys
right
make
at
friends.
home
It'll
there,
be fine.
Paige.
Yeah. I'll just ignore the whispers and it'll be great.
But the whispers are like the plates from the cartoon Beauty and the Beast. So it's like Chip.
Mama, I don't want to go to bed. It's time to...
And Jake's like, can you tell the dishes to shut up? I got to sleep. I got
I
to...
think you're the beast. What can I do?
Exactly, Paige.
I'm just sitting at the table. They're like, there may be something there that wasn't there before.
Every time I watch Beauty and the Beast, I'm just sitting there like, okay, how many plates have I broken in my life accidentally? So I'd be like eating breakfast. And then you hear a crash and I come in, I'd be like, I killed your son. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
He died
jeez.
doing what he loved. Holding my breakfast.
How do you go back to having regular relationships with those people once everyone gets turned back at the end? That's what I wanted. Like, I want a Beauty and the Beast 2 where we get to see those interactions. Like, hey, Mrs. Potsworth, I used to drink
Mrs.
out of your
Potsworth.
body, or whatever the fuck her name was.
What I want to see is PTSD the Beast, where he's human, breaks a coffee mug.
PTSD'd the Beast.
And then he like drops a coffee mug, breaks it, thinks he's killed a person, and then just falls to the floor sobbing. And everybody's like,
Ugh.
it's just a cup. It's just a cup.
Don't worry, Michael Bolton. It's just a cup. Because that's what the beast looked like when he turned.
Which is why no one thinks the Beast in human form is the hot version.
I know. They made a weird mistake.
Well, when he turns back human, he's still rich.
Yeah.
I mean,
but,
that's
like,
fair, yeah. But you settle for it. His shoulders aren't as wide, like
And
it's...
you're like,
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's like, you gotta start fucking locking the doors, asshole. We live in the metropolitan Los Angeles area.
Yeah.
Like, lock it. And we cut to them at home. She's sewing on the sewing machine. And on TV, there's a report of the Manson family at Spawn Ranch, which places this in 1970, which means that they've also gotten fucking everything wrong as far as the shit in the house.
Oh, this is going to be a long episode.
I'm not. I'll lay off it.
We're going to get a Pyrex chat about like how the Pyrex was wrong.
There's no Pyrex in the movie, and it would have been one of the most common kitchen things. Anyway, we can't. I don't have time. We can't. But so that places this movie right around 1970, just time-wise. And they use, I don't know if this was a real news thing that they, like a clip that they used, or if it's something they cobbled together with footage, because they're like, they refer to them as the family. I was like, well, no, it's the Manson family. You have to differentiate, because at the same time, Children of God also went by the family and were also swooping up hippie teens the entire time.
Yeah.
And didn't murder anybody, but did assault a lot of people. So, like, if you're playing with cults, you got to be specific. But these people, not so much. This goes full satanic panic nonsense immediately.
Of course. That's what all pop media does.
Well, and The Conjuring specifically, this Conjuring universe leans heavy into satanic panic.
That makes sense to me, though, because the Warrens literally, like, were just scam artists taking advantage of it. So, like, the fact that their movies are the same, I'm sort of here for. Like, I get it. I think that's actually sort of being true to what the Warrens actually were.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And this, like, news thing that they're watching is claiming that the Manson family was, like, involved in the occult. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what are they even talking about? Because that's not the case. Which, by the way, I know that, like, it has been a long time since the Manson murders have happened, and we know a lot more about them now than they did at the time. And so at the time, they did not have all the information. They probably thought things like this.
Yeah, of course.
For reference, a lot of this was just Charles Manson being a grifter.
Yeah.
He was a lifelong criminal. He did not have a real cohesive religious ideology. He was just making a ton of acid in bathtubs and trying to convince all of the girls in the orbit to either sleep with him or sleep with other people so that they would fund the creation of his album.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, better than you'd think. And
no, is it?
Oh, dude, have you not heard it?
Of course not. I don't give a shit about that. But, like, I don't know. Now I sort of do want to hear it because you said that, though.
There's one song specifically that Armando and I are like, man, it kind of slaps.
They're like, he's a bad dude, but that hook is singable.
It is. It's real singable. Also, I was like, if you're going to rehash Rosemary's Baby, let's maybe not also include the Sharon Tate narrative in it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fucked up thing. Like, they're connected in a fucked up way.
Yeah.
But it is not what the media made it out to be, that it was some orchestrated, like, spell or whatever that this movie tries to make it out to be. It is people who are bad at crime and also on drugs killing people because they're dumb and on drugs. Like, that's what is happening. And Charles Manson doesn't even kill anybody because he chickens out. Like, he literally cuts a guy and then is like, I can't do this, and fucking leaves and makes everyone else finish it. Like, anyway, if you're curious, we did 3 episodes of it on or 4 episodes of it on Cult Podcast. Or Last Podcast on the Left has a great Manson series as well.
Yeah. I got the impression that the home invaders in this one, or the cult in this one, was not the Manson cult.
It's not. It's somebody else. They call them the Cult of Ram.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You drive a Dodge or you go to hell.
I was going to go computer, so I'm glad you went with truck.
They targeted that house because they drive a Ford.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, he tells her not to watch the Manson stuff because it'll upset the baby. And she's like, all right. And this is where we learn that he's in residency. And he's like, it's going to be tough for me to be in residency and also have, like, I don't know, a baby around.
I thought this was sort of hilarious because he's saying everything wrong.
Yep.
And I think I sort of understood what he was trying to say, but it's clear that he doesn't necessarily see his wife as having a life of her own, if that makes sense.
That's correct.
So it's like, because of that, he is saying all of this in a very, like, man, I just don't get excited when people ask me if I'm excited about the baby because I'm I don't want to hear them talk about how difficult my life is going to be for me. You know, he never even considers
for me, the person who doesn't have to push a watermelon-sized thing out of their genitals.
Or do 95% of the child raising labor, right? Like,
right, because it is 1970.
Right. Well, and also he is in residency. Like, logistically, he won't be around, unfortunately.
Oh, which, by the way, I want to clarify. The reason I said it's 1970 is the Manson family murders take place in 69, but the news report is saying that they've already been imprisoned. So, 70. Anyway, he gets her a doll to cheer her up, and it is Annabelle. And it matches like a series of dolls that she has that are all kind of terrifying.
Yeah, all of them look possessed, honestly.
Well, and we find out that it's like a collector's thing, that she's been collecting them. This is the one she didn't have, you know, etc.
Yeah.
Now, they go to bed. This shot, I think, is actually really cool, where we see them sleeping in the foreground and then through their bedroom window.
Yeah, this part scared the shit out of me, man.
Into the other bedroom window. Yeah. We see into their neighbor's house, and we see the neighbors wake up, turn the lights on, and without even hearing it, without knowing, you know immediately what's going on.
Yeah.
Because from their reactions of just like, oh my God, there's somebody in the house, what's going on? And as you're watching, the husband gets up to talk to someone. We don't know who it is. And then blood spurt. He's killed. There's another guy with a knife. He's killing the other neighbor. She screams.
Yeah.
Which wakes up Mia in the house that is in the foreground. And she's like, I think I heard a scream. And her husband's like, I'll go over there and check it out.
I did like that she was like, don't go over there. Like, why would you do that? Let's just call the police. And he's like, you call the police. I'll just go check. They do it for us.
Yeah. I mean, my only thing is like, police might just show up and shoot people, which is exactly what happens, by the way.
Yeah. And I mean, it does save
Thankfully,
their
they
lives.
got it right.
Yeah. I mean,
they don't always.
No, they do not always.
But I mean, I'm not going over there.
Me either.
Like, if I heard my neighbor.
No, I will go to my door to ensure that it's locked, but that's as close to my neighbor's house as I'm getting.
Well, here's the thing. From their window, they can see the blood spatter on the other window.
Yeah.
So, like, at that point, I would have been like, call an ambulance? Because, like, I don't know what's going to be left.
Well, and when she does call the cops, she does say, send an ambulance. Like, she knows already. Yeah.
She knows. But as she's calling 911, we see someone walk behind her in their house.
Oh, before she does that, because he goes over there and goes in the house, and then it takes a while.
Yeah.
So she walks over there, and that like tension it built right there, and then he pops out of the house covered in blood, and she starts freaking out. Him jumping out scared the hell out of me. And then, of course, she freaks out because she's like, oh my God, he's been stabbed or something. But he's like, it's not mine. Go call an ambulance or whatever.
Right.
This whole sequence just reminds me that home invasion films scare the shit out of me.
Oh,
Yes,
home
man.
invasions scare the shit out of me. Yes. Like, oof. So she goes to call an ambulance and she gives them their address, just knowing that, like, you know, the ambulance will come, everything will be fine. But as she's calling, there's someone in her house because she left the door open when she ran inside.
That scared the shit out of me too. When that's revealed behind her on the phone. Oh,
that woman just wandering around her house behind her is the scariest part of the whole film.
I know.
So scary. And so she goes to her bedroom and puts on a robe because she doesn't know there's somebody else in the house.
No, and she's like, I just called company to come over, so I have to be presentable.
Right.
Yeah.
And as she turns,
Or her husband will be mad, Paige.
I don't give a shit what he wants.
It's the 50s. Get ready. These jokes are happening.
It's the
It's
70s,
the 70s.
Mikey.
It's the 70s.
I don't necessarily think it was a lot better in the 70s for women, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's like 1970.
It's like 1970. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she turns and sees the cult member in the nursery holding Annabelle, the doll Annabelle.
Yeah.
Well, this is actual Annabelle.
After she hears, I like your dolls.
Yeah.
The woman holding the doll is Annabelle Higgins, the neighbor's daughter.
Yeah, but she quickly transfers. I wrote in my notes, she Chuckies into this doll.
But that's a misnomer. She doesn't Chucky into the doll.
You're right.
The doll just drinks the blood of the innocents.
Yeah, like that one on the Isle of Misfit Toys. A doll that cries blood. Yeah.
Annabelle drinks blood, and then 3 hours later, you have to change her diaper.
This is the worst vampire baby toy I've ever seen in the Blade universe.
Well, now you know where I'm going to.
Of course I know, Mikey.
Anyway, so she's like, my husband will be back soon. You should leave. We've already called the cops. And lo and behold, behind her is the other cult member.
Yeah.
And her husband shows up just in time to be like, get out of here, but not soon enough.
He's like, this is Ford country.
the one guy kind of tackles her and stabs directly into her belly.
Yeah.
Yeah. She says if you can't dodge it, then you ram it.
Oh, God. But Leah does dodge it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Leah's like, yeah, Ford country, motherfucker. And she's like on the other side of the stomach, like.
Yeah. She's like snapped a rib and is like sharpening it. Yeah.
We did x-rays on you, Mia, after your attack, and it seems like Leah made a shiv out of one of your ribs.
We're hoping you pass it with the afterbirth. She's making pruno in the back. It's weird. Anyway, the cops show up and shoot first, ask questions later.
Absolutely.
And they purely just shoot the person who is bloodiest, is what they
First
do.
off, she had a knife and she was coming at.
No, so she locks herself in the nursery. She's gone. It's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He and the husband are hand-to-hand fighting until we hear the gunshot and he falls dead. And at that point, I was like, well, thank goodness they didn't just shoot the husband who has an equal amount of blood on
Yeah,
him.
I mean, yeah.
Well, guys, policing before fleeing felon laws, you could just shoot everybody.
I mean, that's not good in general.
I'm also
No,
not
it's not.
sure that's changed a whole lot.
No. It
Yeah.
has changed. Fleeing felon laws, because I don't know the stats, but I would assume, because the laws were, if someone is committing a felony and they run away, you could shoot them. It was legal back then.
That's bad.
I mean, that is bad.
I think
is
that
very
still happens
bad.
a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But now it's not legal.
It may not be legal, but a lot of places they still have like qualified immunities to where it's like not a big
Yeah.
deal if they do
Yeah,
shit like that.
people don't get charged for it.
In
it
some places
seems.
they do. It's different in some places, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Anyway, the other girl has locked herself in the nursery and they open the door and find that she has unfortunately slit her throat and completed suicide and then drawn in her own blood a symbol on the wall while holding Annabelle the doll. And as she's sitting there, blood from her neck drips into Annabelle the doll and her eyeball like sucks it up.
Yeah. If she had actually slit her throat, Annabelle would be covered in blood.
Covered.
Like so much blood would be all over the floor around her. Like it would be just,
Guys, her eyeball sucked all of that up.
oh, okay. That was just that one droplet was all that was left.
Mm-hmm. Good to the last drop, Annabelle.
Ooh. Anyway, we cut to the hospital where they're like, hey, turns out that knife did not puncture the amniotic sac and it didn't hit the baby. So
Yeah.
you got lucky.
And on the thing, she's just giving us the finger. I don't know what's happening.
She wrote on the wall of your uterus, fuck you, come take
Come at me. Yeah.
I don't
Ford country.
really know how to interpret that. Anyway, so but they do say that there's strain on the cervix so that she needs to be bedridden for the rest of the pregnancy.
Yeah, which honestly, she looks super pregnant. So I didn't think it was going to be that much longer, you know?
Yeah, well, and this happened to a friend of mine where she ended up on bed rest for 4.5 months.
Oh.
And that's fucking brutal.
That's a very long time.
With my youngest brother, my mom ended up on bed rest for a few months.
Oh.
So.
Yeah.
I'd go stir crazy.
Yeah.
So let's talk about if you would go back home after an incident like this, because I sure as shit would not, and I would sell my house immediately.
Yeah, I would definitely have a hard time going back to even pack up Mikey.
I could pack if I got a bunch of people to come with me, but I'd probably
Yeah,
hire
that's
somebody
exactly
to
how
clean
I
it.
do it. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I would just have to sell it. Like financially, I don't know if it'd be good or bad, but I just don't think I could live in a place where people tried to kill me
No.
and also people got killed in front of me.
Yeah, I don't know. My aunt and uncle, their neighbor tried to burn their house down one time. It's a crazy story.
Wow.
But they
okay.
they moved. Like they never really were able to feel safe in that house again. So they
I'm
moved.
sure not.
Yeah, no. That sounds like an investigation
Yeah.
discovery. There's an investigation discovery show, and it's just about neighbors trying to kill each other. The name of that show is Fear Thy Neighbor. There's been 9 seasons.
9
9
seasons.
It's still going. It started in 2014 or whatever.
God. Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't know that I would go back.
Yeah.
But they
same.
do. They go back and he's like, don't worry, we scrubbed it. Like, no. No,
yeah,
dude.
I got the impression that they didn't stay very long in the house, like it maybe 2 weeks or so, and they were sort of He was talking about the match system, which is a part of residency, right? That's how you got, like, you interview hospitals and they interview you, or programs, I should say, residency programs. And then you sort of say, these are my top few choices, and they rank their top choices. And then you get sent wherever you get sent or whatever.
That's how sorority recruitment works now too.
Oh, is it? Okay. So that's sort of why he goes to Pasadena. He like flies up or whatever and meets with them because he wants to make sure he's one of their top candidates too. Mm-hmm. But I got the impression that happened very quickly after they got back to that house. But I would have been like, why don't we just stay in a hotel for 2 weeks or whatever?
I would be like, hey, a woman cut her throat in the nursery. We're not staying here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree, Mikey. I wouldn't want to stay either.
I'm never going to feel comfortable putting my baby in that room.
Like, if that happened at my house, I'd be like, hey, we're going to live with Mikey for like 3 months.
Yeah, we'll sell the house.
Yeah. By the way, Mikey, we have 7 animals, so...
That's fine. They can live in the backyard. And honestly, I hope the killer takes a few of them out as a mercy killing. There's too many animals to take care of. It's animal hoarding by definition.
I think we do a good job taking care of them.
R.I.P. Peaches.
I know, Peach.
Well, you know what I love? Canned peaches.
All right. I love these jokes about Mikey killing my animals.
They slap, just like I would before I killed them.
Anyway, so he leaves. She's home sewing. Now, as someone who owns many, many sewing machines and has sewn for many years and never done this, I do know that people have, and it's hard to do on modern sewing machines.
When you say do this, do you mean cut their finger like she does?
She doesn't cut her finger. She gets her finger over the feed dogs and under the needle as it's moving up and down. So essentially, she would have sewn through her finger. Which would have been a fucking bloodbath, by the way.
Yeah, I feel like that would have been worse than what we saw. Because she like just goes and like rubs it off and it's like fine.
Yeah, that is not what would happen. Well, and here's the thing. So in order to do what she did, she would have had to have gotten her finger between the foot of the sewing machine.
Yeah, like the guard
that is holding the fabric in place, and then the needle, and the needle would have come down on her finger.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Which, by the way, people end up in the fucking hospital for that shit.
Yeah, it's a needle going through your finger. Like, that would be very painful.
And it's motorized. So, like, unless you can pull it out quickly, like... It's a fucking nightmare scenario. It's a lot easier to do with older machines than newer machines.
Sure.
Newer machines, you could still do it, but you'd have to like try.
Right. Because in the newer machines, they programmed the 3 laws of robotics into the sewing machines.
My sewing machine is computerized. I can computerize stitches and stuff, but like usually your foot is positioned so that even though the needle is coming up and down, it's not providing enough space for you to get things in between the foot and the needle.
Okay. So
like that's how, and then there's kind of like stuff in front of the needle that is also kind of closing that gap. You could do it. You would just have to try to do it.
But like, don't try to do it. That's dumb.
No, it'd be super fucking painful.
Yeah, it looks very painful. Although when she walks to the sink, wash it off, I guess.
It looks like a paper cut.
It does. I honestly thought I had just like not seen it correctly, and she had like squeezed her finger between the foot and where the needle goes through, like that part. I don't know. It just did not look like she had done what it suggested she did.
Yeah. Oh, also, we also kind of missed, like, their first night back, the sewing machine turns on its own, and he picks up a bat and goes to turn it back off.
That's right. And he has to unplug it from the wall for it to turn off.
Yeah. But then he's leaving, and then she sews her finger.
Well, and all of this happens, like, the day that he goes and flies up to Pasadena, right? So the husband's out of the house, right?
Yeah, he is. So, like, they come home. They also have a meeting with the detective in that same thing where like they're turning off the sewing machine. The detective pops in and is like, turns out it was Satan. Bye. And then like, and she says, she's like, I don't want to know. Please don't. So he leaves. The husband leaves. She sews her finger. And as she's trying to like wash it off, that's when she smells the smoke from the fire. Now, the fire starts because her husband, the night before, was trying to make popcorn for her and she falls asleep.
Paige! Men can't cook. It's like common knowledge.
I don't trust these Jiffy Pops because this is how a fire started in my sorority house.
But I mean, he does it right because he turned it on when he thought she was awake and would eat the popcorn he was making for her. And when he goes back to like, he was going to ask her a question, I think. You sort of see him start to ask. And when he realizes she's asleep, he's like, oh, I'm just going to let her sleep. So he goes in, we see him turn it off, right?
Right.
So like, we know it's not his fault. And I sort of like that it's just, he didn't put it away, and I guess that does make it his fault, sort of. But
I don't think about it as his fault. I mean, like, because the stove turns on because of a demon.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
So she's handling her finger, and the stove turns on. The Jiffy Pop expands and catches on fire. In my sorority house, there was one girl who, for some reason, had destroyed 2 different microwaves with microwave popcorn. And we were like, you have lost your microwave privileges.
How do you do it once?
She put it for like 6 minutes or something crazy.
What?
Where we were like, we could never figure it out.
This woman was at college?
Yeah, but so the second he put Jiffy Pop on that stove, I was like, shit's going to catch fire.
Yeah.
If you think global warming keeps happening, will all corn be popcorn?
If we're lucky.
That's the one silver lining.
Yeah. Now, here's the other thing. I feel like this fire gets big really fast. I don't know how she did not smell it before she saw it. Because by the time she gets there, half the kitchen's on fire.
Yeah, I think she smelled it, and that's why she goes into the kitchen, right?
It's because if you smelt it, you are the one who did indeed dealt it. So she did not want to perform that action.
She didn't want to be the dealer.
Right.
So first of all, she would have probably smelled the popcorn.
I thought she would have, yeah.
Then it bursts, and it's smoking and on fire. Then you would have smelled burned popcorn.
Which does have a stench. Like
smell. She doesn't smell that.
It smells exactly like Paige's sorority house, apparently. Like,
yeah. 2008 was a weird year.
What's this lady's name?
Annabelle Wallace, the actress?
No.
Or my sorority sister who burned all the
shall
shit.
Remain nameless.
The character's mom, but the mom. Mia. Unfortunately, Mia's house smells like blood and corpses because they didn't do a good job cleaning up.
So it masked the smell of the fire. Because she gets in there and the kitchen is like ablaze.
Yeah.
And she tries to run away and something tries to pull her back.
That scared the shit out of me too. Like, you don't expect it. She's just crawling away because she's already on the floor and, smoke. You're supposed to stay under it. I get it. Whatever. But like, it drags her like 6 feet back. It's scary.
Yeah, and people run into the house to save her. They rush her to the hospital.
Yeah, the cops run in, they start shooting the fire, and one drags her out. You know how cops be shooting. What if it's like the new Pope smoke, where it's white?
From the kitchen, we've got white smoke. It looks like we've got a new Dutch oven. Like, yeah.
Annabelle has chosen her successor.
Turns out it's the alien brother on her back. Anyway, so we cut to the hospital where her husband's like, oh my God, I got here as soon as I could. I was like, weren't you already there? And then I was like, oh no, wait, he was on a business trip. But she has delivered the baby. Healthy, everyone's fine.
Yeah, everything's great. I would be very upset if the resident board at whatever hospital he had to go to in Pasadena was like, hey, when's your wife's due date? Okay, cool. We can meet that day. So,
well, he was supposed to go to a conference in Sacramento. What was happening.
In Sacramento, but she was the one trying that old wives' tale: how to induce labor, set your house on fire.
There was a place back home in the Bay Area that had this super garlicky pizza that, when people wanted to induce labor, they would go order this pizza. And it had like a weird success rate. And they would like talk about it on the radio and stuff. It was like a known thing.
I mean, I do like garlic on pizza, so I have no chance of ever giving birth, but would definitely eat that pizza.
I just don't understand why this guy's married to Mia. She can't cook.
What are you saying?
She can't exercise demons. She can't do any of the home chores, the housework.
Okay, Scipollini's baby pizza.
Made with real baby.
People are still doing this. Okay, it is 13 toppings: salami, pepperoni, sausage, ham, ground beef, mushrooms, Parmesan cheese, oregano, linguiça, black olives, bell peppers, and handfuls of onions and minced garlic. That actually, aside from like 1 or 2 of those ingredients, sounds fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, I'd definitely try it. I'm not going to lie. But it sounds like you're eating lasagna like just on top of a pizza.
Yeah, I think it's the amount of like sodium, I would imagine.
Yeah, probably.
But people post themselves going and getting it and being like, I went into labor that night. And it was like a thing. Over 150 women confirmed
Nice.
since 1981.
That's amazing. Hey, if you were a baby that was born after your mother ingested this baby pizza, reach
Baby
out.
pizza.
We want to talk to you.
Anyway, he's in Sacramento and has to come back. Now, he says that he flew,
Yeah, we don't see that, but yeah.
which he could. Sacramento does have an airport. That's, a thing.
Yeah, it's like a real city, sure.
Yeah.
Isn't Sacramento the capital of California?
Yeah, fuck that.
I want to go visit there so I can get a sacro momento.
So he flies back. He gets there. The baby's born. Everything's fine. They move into an apartment building that is supposed to be in Pasadena, but is actually in Hollywood, I believe, if I've identified it correctly. So they're setting up the new nursery. And I was like, oh my God, could you imagine moving and unpacking with a newborn? Because at this point in the hospital, she's like, I ain't going back to that house. And he's like, don't worry, it burned to the ground.
Yeah,
Like,
we're not going to have to worry about that. We got a nice little payout and we are moving to Pasadena anyway, so it's great.
yeah. So the one thing that they do show is that she can hear the neighbors through the walls. And it sometimes makes the baby cry.
And also that they have no friends or family because no one is helping them move.
Yeah, no one's helping them move. And as she's kind of setting up the nursery, the door closes behind her.
Which is polite of Annabelle.
But she doesn't think anything of it. She goes outside.
I mean, have we talked about that Annabelle is now in the house?
She's not yet. They haven't unpacked her yet.
Oh, okay.
So she and her husband go outside. They're going to go to church. And this is where they kind of run into Alfre Woodard, who is one of their neighbors.
Yeah.
Right? They go to church. She takes the baby outside because it's kind of fussing in church. And Father Perez comes out and is like, can I take a picture of you and your baby for the visitor's bulletin? And she's just like, I guess maybe. Sure.
Yeah.
And he tries to talk to her about the Higgins, who were their friends who are now dead. And she's like, yeah, I'd really rather not. Like,
Yeah.
So she immediately is like, oh, there's my husband. Bye. And walks over. We get back to the apartment and he brings in the last box of dolls because she's putting up all the dolls.
Yeah.
This is where there were some really blatant anachronisms as far as stuff in the nursery where they've got these like, it's literally a Target baby blanket. I was like,
Yeah.
what? Like they didn't make that fabric back. Anyway, so she opens the box. Annabelle was in it. And she's like, how did that get there? Because pre-fire,
Yeah.
she tells her husband to throw it out. And it's literally in that scene where he's like, no, we scrubbed the nursery. And she's like, get rid of this fucking doll. She was holding it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we do see him throw it away, so like,
Yes.
it is weird that it's back. And he's like, wait, I swore I threw that away.
Yeah. And she's like, well,
It's mine.
what she basically said is like, hey, I talked to the priest this morning and he thinks we should face our fears. So
Yeah.
let's put it up.
Which, again, terrible idea.
Bad plan.
Yeah.
Anyway, we cut to the next day where she's asleep on the couch. The baby is napping in the crib nearby and the TV goes to static. Now, this is very similar to Conjuring 2. I don't know if you remember in Conjuring 2 where the TV would go to static and then things would happen in the house.
Yeah.
And so as we're watching them sleep in the background, we see that the cult lady is walking through the house and around the baby. The baby wakes up and cries. It wakes up Mia, but she doesn't see the cult lady.
Yeah. I mean, 'cause I don't even know, so do you think the cult lady's actually there? I mean, obviously the cult lady died, so this is like a ghost version of the cult lady, or is that just like the devil?
I think it might be the demon taking that form.
The demon is what I meant. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I sort of thought too, because we never see her and the demon. And Evelyn even points out that, it's probably not a ghost being conjured by the cult because they wouldn't conjure a ghost, they'd conjure a demon. So that's why I thought it wasn't actually a ghost, right?
Right.
It was the demon, cross-playing as a ghost.
Crossplay. So she goes downstairs with the baby because they're going to go out for a walk. And she passes these two kids drawing pictures on the stairs. And she's just like, hey, do you guys live in the building? And they won't tell her because she's a stranger. So she leaves. She takes the baby out in the pram. By the way, it is a pram, not a stroller.
And can you talk us through the differences? Just because I'm sure that there are some listeners who don't know. I mean, Mikey and I clearly know the difference
Yeah, you clearly know.
between a pram and a stroller. But yeah, if you could go over it for everybody else, that'd be great.
I sure can.
A pram faces your way?
No. Well, I mean, it can. It most of the time can.
Is it because the wheels are up tucked under it?
No.
Swing and a miss again.
A lot of times people will use the terms interchangeably, especially modern day. They usually just refer to everything as a stroller, but technically, A pram is a pushing vehicle where you can lie back. So it's a baby. It doesn't sit up. It lies on its back most of the time.
Okay.
A stroller gives you the ability to sit up.
Okay.
Oh.
So like that's technically the difference, but modern day most people call it all strollers.
Yeah, okay.
But especially at the time, these are prams.
So what I want to be pushed around in when we get like super rich is a pram because I prefer to
Yeah.
lay down
Correct.
when being pushed about. Yeah.
And it's also usually for much younger children.
Yeah.
Like a stroller would be somebody who could support their own head.
Yeah. Which I still struggled with sometimes.
I know. You got that weak ass neck. It's my least favorite part about you.
It's a weird part of my body for you to have categorized.
Well, now you know how it feels when you do it to other people, Todd.
I was looking at a picture of a dude the other day that I thought was hot, and I was like, he's got a nice thick neck. And I was like, who am I? What is this?
You got a nice thick neck.
Yeah. I was like, why am I even interested in this?
Just makes you harder to choke.
Hard to buy ties. Anyway, so they go out in the pram and she passes Old Town Books, which, by the way, is an antique store in Pasadena. Like, it is a store that they just put books in the front of. And on display are a ton of occult books.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to keep up with the times. It was all the Manson stuff.
Yeah.
you
They're
know.
just like, well, we saw that Manson thing, so... Anyway, Evelyn comes out and she's like, hey, you live in my building. I've seen you around. And we have seen her kind of interact with them.
Yeah. She's been around. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
and she gives her a book. We don't see what the book is, but it looks like it's like an Alice in Wonderland or something, you know, like some classic.
I think it was a child's book. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is like a chapter book, but like it looks like a classic.
Yeah. I got the impression it was like, here, read this to your baby sort of a thing.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
And
It was nice.
she says, you know, this was my daughter's favorite, so you can read it to her when she's older, is what she says to
Yeah.
her. And stop by any time. So she gets back to the apartment building, and the kids left a drawing of her on the step, and she's like, oh, that's so fun. And then there's like a trail of photos as they walk through the stairs, because this is a horrifying walk up with a baby. Ugh.
It was, I was shocked at how quickly this turned because as she's leaving to go walk about and go to the bookstore or whatever, like she passes two kids on the steps, one's sort of playing and one's coloring. The boy is coloring.
Right.
And she engages them in a conversation because she's new to the building and wants to meet people or whatever.
Right.
Not at all creepy, but the boy is like, stranger danger, don't talk to her. And
Right.
you sort of get the impression that he drew this, when you're looking at the first one, as like an apology. Like, I am sorry.
Right.
Here's a nice picture of you and your baby walking down the street or whatever. And then as we see more of them, it becomes sort of like cartoons or like a storyboard, if you will, of her pushing the baby down the street and then the baby pram getting destroyed by a garbage truck and the baby dying.
Yeah. So here's my question. Do you think the kids ever existed?
Yes, I do think the kid existed. I don't think...
He drew the photos.
I think he drew the first one.
Okay.
Oh, I think they existed and drew all the photos. It's just a coincidence. Children can be assholes.
So this is unrelated to the haunting and demon. The demon was like, oh shit, I gotta take notes on this guy. This guy's got some great shit.
Uh-huh.
This Dick Cheney kid is he's gonna go places.
Doing the Gorms work.
That kid is coded like an asshole.
He is. So what I am torn on,
Tell me what you're torn on, Natalie Imbruglia.
because I think either Todd is right, they drew the first one and then the subsequent ones are not them, or they're not there at all
Yeah, it was the demon the whole time.
the whole time.
Not me. I think that kid's a sociopath. He's bad. He's the one who's running and slamming his doors all the time upstairs because he's always getting in trouble by his parents, and the daughter is okay, but he's a dick.
I mean, that is sort of what the movie shows us, Mikey. So I can't say you're wrong, but I don't love that.
I'm all out of crayons. This is how I feel. I want a truck to hit your stupid baby in the face. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't like the baby crying at night. He can hear that upstairs.
Same.
Damn. I think you really sold me on the kid drew all the photos, Mikey. Or not photos, but pictures.
The picture. Well, and then when you see the demon, his fucking fingers are too long to draw like this.
There's no way he can draw accurately with those
Not
hot
with
dog
those
ass fingers.
with those tiny ass crayons. He's one tall, lanky motherfucker. He ain't getting these 2-inch crayons and doing a picture that nice.
Those hands were made for dunking, not for drawing.
Exactly.
And just like other upset art school rejects, This demon went on to do terrible, terrible things.
Terrible things.
Yeah.
Like play for the Lakers.
No, guys, he's on the demonic version of the Harlem Globetrotters, like the evil version of that.
I honestly am pretty sure I saw this guy in the first Space Jam movie playing against the All-Stars.
Yes!
But I'm just picturing it with the Harlem Globetrotters music.
Yeah.
Like, do, 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 do.
Fuck. He dunked on Bill Murray.
Yao Ming ain't got nothing on him.
God.
That wingspan, he's an Olympian in the making.
Yeah.
And from hell, our first round draft pick.
What? We didn't even know the demon's name. We couldn't like call him out for the draft.
Yeah.
It's Ram, bro. My name is Ram, and I play basketball.
The Rams select.
Wait, aren't Rams football? I honestly.
It's the LA Rams.
Okay.
And hey, I mean, he could be a pretty good, defensive lineman or an offensive guy catching stuff in the end zone.
I mean, if this guy has any athletic ability, he could be the next Bo Jackson. I don't know why we're talking like we're scouts at like a training camp. Like we can move on from like.
I got a lot of fucking money riding on these games, Tom.
Ram the Demon can run a 3.9 4.40, you know?
I mean, here's what I have to say. There's no rule that says a demon can't play basketball.
How is this not a movie? Instead of Teen Wolf, you're just like a demon.
Demons in the outfield.
Yeah, like just take the plot from take the plot from Air Bud. And it's just insert demon instead of golden retriever, and you've got this movie.
I want demons in the outfield, where Annabelle doll's in one hand, the kids in the other, jumping 7 feet up to catch the baseball.
And everyone's just like flapping, and they're like, bat wings.
Dodge country. This movie sucks. Anyway, that fucking psychopathic kid wrote a bunch of like disturbing pictures to that woman.
Yeah.
So she goes upstairs to her doctor husband and is like, we should find their parents, right? Like, this is...
I mean, he even suggests, he's like, listen, if Leah did this, we'd want to know, right? So like, yeah.
Right.
I don't think they actually go do that though, right?
They can't. They don't know their names. They have no way to find
Okay.
them. That's why I'm like, maybe it was the demon the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Anyway.
I just think they're lazy.
Yeah.
I think the husband was like, yeah, I'll totally do that.
Yeah. Well, and he's like, hey, tomorrow night, let's have like dinner, an adult conversation, but he's late and doesn't show.
Yeah.
And she's playing the original Cherish on vinyl. Love it. Turns it off. And then it just magically turns back on.
Annabelle was like, no, hon, that song slaps. We're hearing at least the end.
Yeah.
They put that other record on and it was dun 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 dun. It's the Harlem Globetrotters song page.
I was going to try and whistle it earlier, but I can't whistle low enough to I just can't. Anyway, so she goes to the window and a gust of wind blows her to the ground and a little girl runs past her and the sewing machine turns on and she gets up, goes down the hallway and sees the little girl in the nursery. And she's like, who are you? And there's like wind blowing. And the little girl runs as the door shuts, but then the door hides the fact that literally by the time the door opens back up again, it's the bigger cult lady.
Yeah.
And it's a scary switcheroo.
It is very scary. Like, I jumped in my skin.
Yes.
I thought there was too much of a delay between the people.
They do get better at this the longer the Conjuring verse goes on, because this is a bait and switch they've used multiple times.
We have seen this a few times, and this one still scared me, but they've done it better on other ones.
Yeah.
Anyway, she tells her husband, and he's like, pretty sure you just have postpartum depression.
Well, I mean, that's logically probably what's going on.
And she's like, so do you think I should talk to a shrink? He's like, no, a priest. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, no, maybe she should talk to a therapist.
He's not a great doctor. You know, he's still in residency.
Yes.
He hasn't done his OB rotation.
Yeah, exactly.
He learns about
exactly.
postpartum. I like that Annabelle is just like a cheerleader that cheers on the number one round draft pick, Ram.
Yeah.
This is back when even the NFL cheerleaders wore very sensible gowns.
Yes. So they can do those high kicks and you can't see their ankles.
Exactly.
Well, I'm just not ready to see ankles right now. It's been a while.
Anyway, they go to see Father Perez and he's like, yeah, I can understand why you're upset. you've been through a fucking lot in the last few months. A lot.
He does a decent job. Yeah.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. Do I think she should go to a therapist? Yes. Do I think that he also gives them good advice at this time?
Yeah, also yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he's like, you've been through like literally the best and worst life can offer in like a month and a half. So like, I get that you're having struggles.
Yes. And she's like, you're right. We can beat this. So they go home. They run into Evelyn and they kind of exchange hellos. This is the first time Evelyn meets John. And she's like, hey, if you ever want to tour the neighborhood, call me. I've lived here a long time. We cut to the apartment and she hears something in the house because the radio seems to have turned on by itself. Now, this is an Easter egg that I think they did on accident because they didn't pay enough attention to a lot of the other stuff in the movie from the period. I think they maybe did this one as an oopsie that turns out to be a cool Easter egg. The song playing is Spiral Staircase's More Today Than Yesterday.
Yeah.
It was actually the father-daughter dance at my wedding. But
Oh, really?
it was because it was one of my favorite songs as a child.
That's so sweet.
As an adult, I will tell you that the Spiral Staircase is a band named after a house in Hollywood where a lot of hippies and counterculture people would hang out. Specifically, the Manson family lived there for like 3 months. And that's where they recruited most of the family.
Is it Brian Wilson's house?
No, they moved to Brian Wilson's house after the Spiral Staircase.
Okay.
But this is a band made up of musicians that met there and then named their band after it. So the fact that they're playing a Spiral Staircase song and it's this like fake cult thing, I'm like, you could have used that if you had done your homework. But like, they just play it in the background at one point.
I mean, that's cool though.
Yes. So she puts the baby down. She breaks down some cardboard boxes and she's taking them down to storage.
Yeah.
This is the scariest part of this movie for me.
Yeah. When she gets off that elevator and it's like dark and she has a flashlight, I was like, oh, I fucking hate this movie already. And literally, I turned it off and was like, I'll watch the rest tomorrow morning, like 3 minutes from when she first arrives. Like,
from right now. Yeah. So she hears metal squeaking while she's putting these boxes away.
Yeah, and she had to like walk down the like alley of like storage units on either side, but it's not like closed off storage units, like a chain link fence all the way to the top of the ceiling or whatever. So she gets down to theirs, opens it, puts the shit down, and she starts to hear stuff, right?
You mean Ram's practice gym?
Well, she sees a pram just kind of roll out.
Yeah.
With a light on it. And now it does look like their pram, but it's in black instead of green.
Yeah. But it's the same design.
Okay. But also, this is lifted entirely from Rosemary's Baby.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
But also, the end of Rosemary's Baby, she gets up to the party where she believes that they're doing rituals or whatever. And their pram, which is black, is there at the party. And she approaches it and looks inside it, like literally almost shot for shot this.
Yeah.
Looks inside it, and then it's just like, his eyes, what have you done to his eyes? And you see like the little baby hand is like a demon hand, like,
okay.
And that's the end of the movie, basically.
Okay.
So she looks in the pram, there's like bloody sheets, and there's a demon hand. She runs.
That demon hand grabbing her scared the shit out of me. But yeah, she runs immediately back to the elevator and is like, 6th floor, get me out of here.
Yeah.
But because she hits it 3 times and that's 666, it just leaves her in the elevator. So she never leaves that ground level.
Yeah.
Ram couldn't let her go, but he's actually doing a post-game interview on the floor right now, and they're like, what's your secret? He's like, baby souls in the morning.
Baby souls in the morning. We gave 110%. We just outran them. We did our conditioning. We were in the right place at the right time. We played the right game today.
We practice our demon fundamentals.
Like to thank my mother and Satan.
I couldn't have done this without the man downstairs.
Yeah.
Like pointing down.
And you know what? I'm going to Knott's Berry Farm instead of Disneyland.
And then it's back across the river Styx for me.
Or Halloween Horror Nights. Either one. Anyway, so she has a scratch on her arm in what we will find out is the cult symbol. And she's pressing the elevator and it just keeps opening on that same floor.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I just typed in my notes. I mean, Pasadena do be haunted, though.
Never going to Pasadena.
I mean, there's some cool stuff there. So the lights flicker. It's still that same floor. And she literally, like, it's so tense in that elevator. And those doors open on that same floor 3 or 4 times.
I think it's 4. I think they do it one more than you expect, which
They do it.
so creepy.
It's too long, though. I was like, okay.
I actually had time to be scared, and then it happened 2 more times. So on the second time after I was scared, I was like, lady, the doors work, but nothing else works. So like I had time to process a joke in that moment.
Yeah, like I thought his hand was going to come through or something, or, you know, but
And
like
stop
it's like
the door, right?
Yeah,
I
got
thought
the
so
same
too.
thing.
I thought for sure.
Yeah.
I was just hearing John Lovitz's voice in my head from A League of Their Own, like, see, around here, the elevator moves, not the floors. Anyway, she looks out, she sees an exit sign.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, those kinds of exit signs,
don't exist.
a little bit newer than 1970. Yeah. But she makes a run for it. She gets out. She trips and falls as she kind of runs up the stairs and looks down through the staircase and sees that hand a couple floors below her. So she takes off running. She's kind of locked out of the door. It has followed her up.
Yeah.
She gets inside at the last minute, but her arm is still fucked up.
This whole sequence is so scary. I literally turned it off and went to bed.
Really?
Yeah, when was it, like the first, when the elevator opened and you realized she hadn't moved the first time?
It was right before she starts running out of the elevator.
I feel like the elevator scene I just wasn't scared. This movie did not scare me.
I was so scared, man.
The elevator scene is the one that, like, actually, I was like, okay, this is done really well.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of the other jump scares were telegraphed pretty obviously, but the elevator was great.
I just felt like his design of just being like this 8-foot tall thing in the basement was like, okay, that's kind of silly.
Yeah, it looks kind of goofy.
Yeah, and then but it didn't jump at her.
I mean, it didn't then. It does later in the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she wakes up the next morning and she's put bandages over her arm, but the next morning it's completely gone. And the reason her husband hasn't been here through all this is he's working nights. We will find out.
Yeah.
But
I honestly, at this point, was like, okay, is she just like Wolverine and she heals real quickly? Because we also saw her cut her finger and then that not be a problem
That's gone
immediately.
too.
So like,
Yeah.
You see, Ram was just showing her that he stole the crayons from the kid so he wouldn't mess with her anymore. And like Drew, he can't speak well, so he just drew on her arm and she got freaked out about it.
oh, and she just thought it was blood.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
See, I thought that it was a case of like the demon is creating illusions for her, like we will see later in the movie. And so she was never hurt. It just made her think that she was.
That I actually would buy too. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that you put that my theory and Pages on the same level. I appreciate that.
Listen, Mikey, your theory was insane. Would I have loved to have seen it? Yeah.
So she calls the detective in and she's like, hey, I know I said that I didn't want to know anything, but now I need to know fucking everything. Please
Yeah.
show me the crime scene photos.
I did love that, which is what I probably would have done in that situation too.
Yeah.
Like if I'm sure I'm going to have to fight a demon, I want to know as much as possible about said demon.
So he shows her first the file of Annabelle Higgins, the young girl. Now, here's the thing about this file, if you look close at it. It contains 2 photos. One of them is a Polaroid and the other one is a developed photo.
Yeah.
But first of all, the Polaroid, now they did have Polaroids back at the time, but they looked very different. And this is very much a more modern Polaroid. It's like an 80s Polaroid as opposed to one from like 1971.
Yeah.
Or 70 at this point. Then the photo behind it is completely modern. That is like a 90s photograph, and she's not even dressed period appropriate. It looks like it is one of the most obvious anachronisms in this film.
Yeah.
It is wild. But then he shows her these kind of larger blown up crime scene photos, and she sees the symbol that was on her arm and is like, hey, so were they like trying to summon a demon? And he's like, yeah, but like, who cares, right? And
But like
she's
that
just
stuff
like,
doesn't exist, so don't even worry about it.
Hocus pocus. They were trying to summon the best basketball player that's ever been imagined. It's not possible.
yes. And she finds a photo with the symbol and she's like, does the symbol mean anything to you? And he's like, okay, fine. Their cult was called the Disciples of Ram. They were trying to bring about a demon. They need 2 souls. And he just like exposition bots onto her.
Yeah.
So she goes to the bookstore runs into Evelyn, is like, hey, turns out the apartment's haunted. And Evelyn's like, cool, aisle 4.
Yeah, I did love that.
Yeah.
I was like, how did she miss the my apartment's haunted section of the bookstore?
Here's Poltergeist for Dummies.
Yeah.
Did you move the stones? All right. But she sits down and has a conversation with Evelyn where Evelyn's like, I don't think it's a ghost. I think it's a demon because ghosts haunt places. Demons haunt people, basically.
Yeah.
Which is overly simplistic, but sure.
Well, I got the impression that like ghosts haunt places and demons collect human souls, sort of.
Right.
Yeah.
And usually if you're conjuring, it's a demon, not a ghost.
Yes.
So
yeah.
She then tells her a little bit about like, I lost a daughter that was your age and I felt like I had nothing else to live for, but I heard her voice and it told me it wasn't my time. And you too have a purpose to protect your family. And this is the conversation that the movie gives us to be like, see, it's totally fine that we kill the one person of color in this movie.
Yeah.
It's A-okay. She wanted it. And you're just like, no, what?
She hates selling books.
I mean, I know a lot of people who worked at Barnes & Nobles, and it's a common thing. Anyway. So we cut to, she tries to go back to the apartment and she has the books in the pram and is carrying the baby.
Yeah.
She goes to unlock the apartment. The pram rolls into the street and a green garbage truck, exactly like the one drawn in the drawings, but also completely out of historical context. Like
a modern
that is
day garbage truck.
A modern day garbage truck.
Yeah.
Just plows through that pram.
I think I even saw one of those like mechanical arms on the side that
It
picks
has
up
it,
trash.
yes.
Like,
yeah.
like I don't know if they had that back in the day.
They did, but the truck would have looked very different.
Sure.
I mean, this is literally the same kind of garbage truck that picks up my garbage today. Like,
But is that because they haven't updated the fleet in 60 years?
no,
Or, okay.
absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Here's why it's so bonkers is because they went to the trouble of putting like period appropriate cars along the sidewalk in front of the apartment building.
Yeah.
And then a fully modern garbage truck just like, and literally right next to them. So like, it is impossible not to see it. You're just like, what? Like, what is this? So she goes through the books in her apartment and finds that there's things for spilling the blood of kin and spilling the blood of the innocent. So she goes into the nursery. She hears the rumbling upstairs and suddenly the doors close. She's trapped.
Yeah.
The baby is out in the living room with the books and she looks under the door and the doll just like falls in front of her face.
That scared the hell out of me too, man. Like, ugh.
I laughed.
I laughed.
I hate jump
I
scares
laughed.
so much. Like, they totally get me, and I fucking
I think
hate
you mean Annabelle.
Not Annabelle. Exactly.
It happened and in my brain like auto completed a voiceover that was just, it's me, bitch. Just like,
That would have made me laugh if I'd had that thought. I also was like, they're not going to kill a baby with book. Like, I'm not super
yeah,
concerned
because they're
for
knocking
baby.
books off the bookshelf around the baby.
Well, that's why we have to ban books to protect the children.
No.
What are you, a Florida governor?
Not yet.
Anyway, so she uses the rocking chair to break the handle off the door. So she gets out, she gets to the living room, and we watch as the doll floats. And this is where the demon is behind it, just shaking it.
And that scared me. I can't believe I did not scare you guys. Like, it scared me.
No.
It looks silly as
goofy.
shit.
I didn't even realize he was shaking it because I was like so locked in on demon phase.
He's like peeking out from behind it.
Yeah.
It looks like how I look when I play with like my goddaughters or whatever. I'm like, hey,
You look like a
hey.
demon when you're playing with your goddaughters?
No, you just hold a doll up and you shake it and you make a silly voice.
Oh, yeah. I do that same thing with my animals.
Here's my thing. It's a demon. A, what does it need the doll for at all? Like, the doll
Right.
is an afterthought. But B, it's a demon. It's in her living room. It's huge. It has the hands. It has great defense. It's got a huge wingspan. It shoots threes like nobody's business.
He's got a double-double in the last like 7 games.
Yeah. And he's like hiding behind a doll. No, he's the dangerous thing. Fuck the doll. Like, why a doll at all?
Well, that makes me think he had a different plan or what. Like, I don't think this demon is evil. He doesn't actually do anything to hurt anybody.
I'm sorry.
I
what?
mean, he scares her in the elevator thing, and then he chases her.
He also kicks Evelyn out of the house. Like, he tackles her out of the house.
He tries to kill the priest.
Well, we don't know that priest, priest can be bad.
I know that not all priests are good. I get where you're going.
Hashtag not all priests.
Mister, I'm going to defend the hair cutting guy, but then suddenly throw some shade.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to have similar opinions about the haircutting guy if I see a priest walking down the street with that size doll. Yeah.
I understand.
I'm just saying, the most exposure we get to this demon, the big reveal, is him just kind of trying to make the baby smile by wiggling the doll in front of them.
Yeah.
Because that's what he thinks of her. She's like a little baby to him.
He's like, look, I'm not scary. I just look scary, but like, look, it's a doll. And then like, she's like, ah!
He's like, I'm on a basketball team. I got to play against Michael Jordan and Bill Murray here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she screams. Her husband is coming home. He hears it. He runs upstairs. The apartment is tossed.
Yeah.
They do an external shot, and they did this external shot to try and capture some of the few light up billboards in LA that are still from that time period, but it's a completely different part of town. Like, it's not anywhere close to where they are. And so they invite the priest over, and he's like, yeah, it's definitely this evil doll that wants her soul. I should take it and put it in the church so that its power is diminished. And they're like, all right, thanks.
I do love that they were like, yeah, whatever. Just take the doll. Yeah, I don't care what you do. Just take it.
Just take it. And
he's like, a life-size child's doll. I'll take that off your hands.
That was so concerning to me too, Mikey. Because if I said it earlier, but if I saw a priest carrying that size doll down the street, I'd be like, dark.
Yeah. Anyway, he does hint in this scene. He's like, there's a married couple that deals with this, but they're on the East Coast. We'll have to place a call, but it'll take them a while to get here. Implying the Warrens is who's going to take care of it.
But they were probably busy scamming someone else, so they couldn't be involved in this one.
I would put Annabelle in a bag or a box, or I don't want to carry a doll this large down the street or in public.
Yeah. Anyway, he puts it in the car, in the back of the car.
But at first he buckled it into shotgun, which I thought was a weird choice.
That was a weird choice. But before he's like immediately like, that's weird, and puts it in the back. So
I mean, why wouldn't you just throw it in the trunk? Like, I think buckling it up is weird.
Yeah, all of it's weird.
It's a collector's item, first off. Okay.
No, at this point, it's haunted at least.
It's a double collector's item now.
Anyway, he leaves. And this is where she's like, thank you for believing me, husband. And he's like, of course, I will always believe you. At which point I was like, is he in on it? Like Rosemary's Baby? Because like in the 1970s, a man believing a woman, like what?
That does sound unbelievable.
Yes, the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair, Mikey. Yeah.
Anyway, he does. Meanwhile, Father Perez drives away. Now, it shows video because it's very clearly projection around the car. And it shows him driving on one of the bridges downtown that looks kind of like the haunted bridge in Pasadena, but isn't the haunted bridge in Pasadena. And I was like, they were clearly going for this and just got it wrong or something, like, or couldn't get the rights to film the bridge. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But he turns off the radio because it keeps switching and staticking because of the doll. He arrives at the church. He goes to take the doll inside, but the cult member ghost lady is in the car. He tries to run for the church because he sees her, and he gets thrown back down onto the street, blunt force trauma style. So he ends up in the hospital.
It's like the demon was standing in the door of the church and kicked him as hard as the demon could. Because he lands like 10 feet away from it, but he was like about to cross into it.
He got "This is Sparta" kicked out of the church.
And that's why you don't steal toys from an 8-foot tall person.
Yeah.
Demon.
Yeah. Anyway, so at the hospital, the husband doctor goes to check on him, and he just like sits by that priest the whole time. And here's the thing. I'm like, so the priest got hurt by the doll. You're not going to go check on your family?
I did think it was wild that he was like that invested in the priest that he sat next to him until the priest woke up.
Yeah.
Like, I would be like, is the priest going to be okay? Okay, cool. If someone could let me know when he wakes up, here's my number. I'm going to go back to my family, who was also involved in the incidents leading up to this.
Right.
Again, dealing with demons is woman's work at the home. Like, if you're going to keep a nice home, I shouldn't have to leave work to check to make sure that's going okay.
Sorry, I've got like
a lot of pent up anger about the patriarchy that Mikey is specifically triggering in this moment.
Yeah, but also an itchy shoulder. Anyway,
okay.
so the priest wakes up and is like, yo, that doll haunted as hell. And he's like, oh shit, I should probably call my wife. Like, fuck. So meanwhile, back at the apartment, Evelyn and Mia and the baby have arrived home after shopping. And this is where Evelyn tells the story of what happened to her daughter. Essentially, she fell asleep at the wheel. They got in a car accident. She blames herself.
Yeah.
And would have switched places with her. So her husband tries to call and is just like, get out of the house. Like, it wants the baby's soul.
Yeah, I did think it was funny that, like, the call connects, right?
Right.
And they can hear each other for a second. And the demon starts to turn this phone call into static right when the doctor husband says, Father, whoever is in the
Yeah.
and then it turns to static. I was like, oh, just in the nick of time, the demon got there to turn it to static.
Yeah. And so there's a knock at the door, and it appears to be Father Perez turned around, but it fully isn't.
Right. And she doesn't know Dr. Perez is in the hospital. So that's like not super weird to her that Dr. Perez would be back, maybe, you know?
Yeah. Well, and she goes to tap on his shoulder, and it is like a full ghost that just is like, may God have mercy on your soul. And you're just like, whoa, what?
What is happening, Father Perez?
What does this have to do with the doll? Like, at all? Anyway, the house goes nuts. The record player starts playing things backward. Satanic Panic Special. Alfre Woodard tries to dial, and the phone is dead. The baby is missing. All the dolls are fucked up and covered in blood.
Yeah.
And Alfre Woodard is like, we need to get the hell out of here. Like, you know, hey, like.
And she is never wrong.
No, never.
Yeah.
They hear the baby crying, but they can't see the baby anywhere. It's like it has disappeared.
Yeah.
And Alfre Woodard goes to open the door, and it just knocks her down the stairs out of the apartment.
Yeah. And that reveal is where we think it's just the people upstairs fighting, but it's actually the demon sort of running on the ceiling at her, like on all fours. And as they track the sound and then look up, the camera shifts up and you see the demon on the ceiling. Fuck, that scared me. And that's when it jumps and takes Evelyn outside and the door closes and locks.
Yeah, that didn't scare me because that's when I noticed that this demon kind of looks like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
He was misunderstood too. Yeah.
So it kicks Alfre Woodard out. It locks Mia in the apartment. And this is where the crayon rolls into the hallway. She goes into the nursery, and it's written all over the ceiling, just, her soul!
Yeah. You also see the symbol that was on her arm and on the wall in their first house where the lady completed suicide. So, like, it is, like, tying it all together, right?
Well, she then picks up the Annabelle doll and is smashing it, or trying to smash it, and then throws it to the floor, and then they make it appear like it's her baby, like she has bludgeoned her own baby to death. But then it turns out to be a different doll.
Yeah, that first reveal of it being the baby, I was like, oh my God, no, that's terrible.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not that, thank God.
Right. So she picks up Annabelle and she's like, there has to be another way. Please, like, what do you want? And then on the window, it says, your soul. And the window opens, basically implying that she should jump.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was like, what does it even want to do with the soul? This seems like a waste.
Oh, I think the demon's just a huge fan of donut souls. So, like.
So, meanwhile, Alfre Woodard is climbing the stairs to try and get back into the apartment. Dr. Husband comes home. He lets Alfre Woodard in. They go to the room, the nursery, just in time to stop Mia from jumping out the window. And so the husband grabs her. And she's like, I have to give the soul, like, it needs a soul. We got to get her back.
Yeah.
And this is where Alfre Woodard is like, let me do it. Because, like, I've been super sad ever since my kid died. And this is kind of like, you know, eye for an eye. And then the audience is like, what? No, what?
Like, that was a very quick decision. Why is this happening?
Because she then walks through the window and jumps. We view down on the sidewalk. She is dead with the doll.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the baby's back and everything's fine. And we cut to church where they're like, God honors sacrifice. And I was like, whoa, movie, no, what? But we then see them talking to Father Perez where he's like, no one's seen the doll. The doll disappeared. And we thought the police had it, but they don't have it. And it just says 6 months later.
Yeah.
And he gives her the photo that he took when the baby was younger. And they're like, are we going to look for the doll? Nah. We just hope that whoever gets it next gets the help they need. And that no wait. There's one scene
Oh, shit.
at a vintage store where someone has found Annabelle.
Oh, yeah.
And buys it for their daughter, who we will find out is the nurse's.
Yeah.
And
that's
that's
the
the
movie.
movie.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what'd you guys think about Annabelle?
I preferred Rosemary's Baby.
It was a movie.
I didn't really like the plot elements of it, but I think as a scare factory, it's good at those things.
Well, there is also, I just realized we kind of forgot, it's allegedly Annabelle is in Ed and Lorraine Warren's house, and there's a weird quote from Lorraine from the first Conjuring movie, but whatever. It
Evil doesn't
matter.
stop. It just goes.
Have you guys seen the actual Annabelle doll, though? It's more like a Raggedy
It's
Ann
a Raggedy
doll.
Ann. Yeah,
In
it's a
fact,
Raggedy
you
Ann.
see a Raggedy Ann doll in the movie over someone's shoulder as they're walking through a scene. And I was like, oh, that's got to be a nod to the actual doll there.
Right.
But you're just looking at a Raggedy Ann cloth doll inside of what looks like a Zoltan case from Big. And you're like, that's not scary.
No.
So the doll in this movie is way scarier looking than the actual doll.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There are horror movies we'll watch where I'm like, shit, that was scary, but it's a good movie. Hereditary is a good movie.
Right.
It's just also super scary. I'm hoping to never have to watch that again.
Right.
Now that we've already done a rewatch on it. But this movie is just scary. There's not a whole lot of fun plot to it. Sort of The Nun was, the original Nun. Not the
I'm excited for Nun
upcoming
too, though.
Akilah Cooper joint that's going to be amazing, I bet. But yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that scary either, though.
I didn't think it was that scary.
Oh, man. You mean this one? This movie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Okay. I have similar feelings about this movie as I do The Nun, and it's that I didn't really care for the movie, and it was scary. It just seemed like a jump scare factory to me. I think The Nun is worse about that than this movie was, but I feel like they're on similar pages in my mind, at least.
Yeah.
But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, here it is with your fun facts.
Raggedy Ann fun facts. So the baby mobile that hangs over the crib plays the same tune as the music box from The Conjuring.
Okay.
Let's talk about the air quotes real Annabelle doll.
Oh, nice.
So the Raggedy Ann doll, the real Annabelle doll, was given to Donna, who was a college student at the time, by her mother in 1970. So at that point, the year is correct as far as the movie.
Cool.
She and her roommate, Angie, noticed that the doll would seem to move subtly. And then within a few weeks, it started to move from room to room while they were gone. They hire a medium, and the medium gives them the theory that Annabelle is Annabelle Higgins, a child in the 1860s whose body was found in a field that the house now occupied.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's different.
That's different.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of the few Conjuring universe movies that is, most of the Conjuring purports to be based on true events. It's based around air quotes real, huge quotes, cases by the Warrens.
Right.
But this is completely fictionalized entirely.
Okay.
So it's one of the few like that.
Yeah, so it in reality is much closer to what Ed and Lorraine Warren actually did, which is
Correct.
completely imaginary.
Yep. So Ellen DeGeneres had an interesting experience watching this film because she watched it and thought, that building looks familiar. And it turned out that they had used her old apartment building.
What?
Ooh.
Yes. And she said that it was scary back then too, which is true. Most old apartments are creepy.
It must have been the one in Hollywood that was quote unquote in Pasadena. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So Alfred Woodard hadn't seen The Conjuring before she started working on this film, but instead researched the true story, air quotes true, that inspired this film. So
Okay.
the characters' names, Mia and John, are a specific reference to Rosemary's Baby. This is confirmed by the screenwriter. There are a lot of commonalities between the two of them, including the fact that they're both about a young, well-to-do couple in a luxury apartment building having a baby, in combination with Satanists trying to take the mother and child, along with the frequent noise of the neighbors in an adjacent apartment or above, are all nods to that film.
I do sort of like that when screenwriters write something, they will sometimes leave in the main characters' names or things like that when you're paying homage to old movies.
Mm-hmm.
Pixar did with Toy Story and
Right.
their main character being named Andy after Chucky, right? Or after
Right.
Child's Play. That's cool, but also don't copy and paste the plot.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. So in a 1963 episode of The Twilight Zone titled The Twilight Zone Living Doll, the episode involves a talking doll given to a young girl by her mother. The doll's innocent vocabulary soon takes on a sinister tone, more like a Chucky, especially toward the girl's cruel stepfather. And the girl's mother in the episode is named Annabelle. So it's entirely possible that this partially informed the true story, where it's something that they may have absorbed or seen on TV.
Right. Okay. So they got the idea from it, changed it slightly, and then conned people. Yeah.
Yeah. So Leah, the name Leah, is shouted 89 times in the film.
I buy that. It felt like it was at least 90.
Yeah, it breaks the record of saying a character's name repeatedly in a movie.
Well, because Leah never screams back.
No.
Leah never screams back.
She's just a cute little baby.
I think we covered that coincidentally, Annabelle is the first name of the actress who plays Mia.
Yes.
That is purely a coincidence. The director for this film was also the cinematographer for Child's Play 3.
What? Hell yeah.
Yep. If you look closely on the box that Annabelle is delivered in the beginning of the movie, it says Raven's Fair. This is actually a reference to the film Dead Silence, which features a town of the same name. James Wan also wrote and directed that film.
Dead Silence?
Yes, it is. Yes, that's why I included it.
Okay, so that's super interesting considering what, well, we'll talk about in a second, actually. Well, Paige, thank you so much for those fun facts. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So this movie came out again in 2014. What do you think the production budget was for Annabelle?
The first Conjuring had come out and it had been kind of a hit, but James Wan tends to work in smaller budgets when he can, especially in these early days. So I'm going to say 12.
Okay. Mikey, do you have a guess?
20?
You're both a little bit high. It was actually $6.5 million.
Oh, wow.
Now, if you adjust for inflation, that's around $8.2 million today. So it's a really, really small budget for, I think, what we get on screen.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good for $6 million.
Yeah, that looks amazing for $6 million. And to be honest, like, if you had said it was $30 million, I would have been extra pissed, because then I would have been like, you've got no reason not to get your set deck right. Like, for the time period, if it's that much money. But for $6 million, I'm like, yeah, you can't get a vintage garbage truck for that. Like, you know.
Just like, go get a garbage truck.
Yeah. And honestly, that's a lot of that shit is stuff that like you notice because like you're super into that time period. I didn't notice any of that shit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't ruin it for everybody and it's like way cheaper.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I
like,
get
yes.
that.
It makes sense.
But this movie came out on October 3rd, 2014. Perfect time for a scary movie to come out. It was number 2 in the theaters that weekend. It was beat by Gone Girl. It was number 2, of course. The Equalizer was number 3. The Box Trolls was number 4. And The Maze Runner was number 5. What do you think Annabelle brought in its opening weekend, the weekend of October 3rd?
This was a hit, if I remember correctly. I'm going to say 10.
Okay.
I'm going to say more. I'm going to say 19.
All right, Mikey, you are closer. It made $37.1 million in the opening weekend, and it was second. Remember, it was second, guys. The number 1 movie, Gone Girl, brought in $37.5 million. So it was super close to being the number 1 movie. It only missed out by about $400,000 on being the number 1 movie that week. It was in theaters for a total of 11 weeks. And was in the top 5 in its second week, but fell out of the top 5 in the third week, and then out of the top 10 after the fourth week. But what do you think it brought in domestically in 2014?
70.
Yeah, I'm thinking 80, actually. I'm going to go higher.
Okay, Paige, you are way closer. It was $84.2 million. So it did very, very good domestically. It also did very, very well internationally. It brought in $172.5 million internationally for a total of $256.8 million. Again, on a $6 million budget, which is insane.
And now I know why there's 4 sequels to this movie or whatever.
I mean, yeah. Like if you adjust that $256.8 million For inflation, that's $324.5 million today. It made tons of money.
Yeah.
So they're going to make these forever, I bet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that's your box office. So, Mikey, do you want to hit him with that scary scale?
Yeah, our scary scale listeners, a scale of how scary we found the film when we watched it today. Our 1 example is Ghostbusters, and our 10 example is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Paige.
I'm torn between a 2 and a 3. I would give it
Oh,
I don't know,
man.
like a 2.5, and that's mostly for that elevator scene.
All right, 2.5. Todd.
I'm going to give it a 6.
Jesus.
It scared me, guys. I don't handle jump scares well, and there were a lot of jump scares in this movie that were effective.
I think for me, they
weren't.
weren't effective because they telegraphed them so much. I was like, oh, she's going to run through that door.
Telegraphing it doesn't make me not scared of it when it happens.
I literally saw the older woman actor throw the child actor so she could run through the other part of the door.
Well, and also like the doll dropping like in the, when she's looking under the door, that made me laugh. So like, I don't know.
Yeah, all of those things made me scream like a child.
Okay, well, I'm going to give it a 2.
I just realized when the demon is holding that doll, traveling, like,
Because they're not dribbling?
yeah.
Oh, it's such a good basketball joke. Fun fact, basketball is the worst
Oh,
sport
my
I am
God.
at. Like, out of all
Oh,
sports.
you're terrible at it. I'm also terrible at it.
I played
I'm
church
not
league
good
once.
at most sports.
Anyway, that's our scary scale.
Did you give it a number?
2.
Also, we didn't do a scary scale for Megan. Would you guys like to do a scary scale for Megan right now?
1.
On the fun scale, it was a 10.
Hell yeah, it was a 10.
Scary scale, it was a 1 for me.
But I'm going to give it a 1 as well. So this week, you all made us watch Annabelle. Next week, it's listener request, and the listeners have chosen a movie that Paige mentioned during Fun Facts, Dead
Yes.
Silence, as the final movie to close out Toy Month. So your homework for next week is to watch, I think it came out in 2017.
What movie?
It came out in 2007. It's a movie called Dead Silence.
Never seen it. Excited about
Me
it.
neither. I am excited as well.
But as Paige mentioned in Fun Facts, it's James Wan directed, Lee Wanell and James Wan written joint.
Yeah.
So it's like back when they were still writing things and doing things together.
They become
Yes.
big later on. I bet it's pretty decent.
Yeah, I bet it's pretty decent as well.
So that is your homework for next week. So, Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, whose review are you going to read this week?
Freezer Books.
What does Freezer Books have to say?
They say, can't miss podcast.
Oh, I thank you.
I love this podcast so much and get excited about every episode that shows up on my feed. I laugh out loud every single episode.
Nice.
5 stars.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Freezer Books, for that amazing 5-star review. And if you want to have Mikey read your 5-star review, leave us a 5-star review. So, guys, if you like this show but want to hear this power throuple on another movie review show about romance and romantic comedies, check out Romancing the Pod, where Mikey, Paige, and I break down and make fun of romantic movies. It's a lot of fun, guys. Check it out. If you want to follow us on social, please do. We are at Horror Virgin or online at horrorvirgin.com. If you want to follow us all individually, you can do that as well. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Twitter or Rampage Wesley everywhere else, including TikTok. Mikey is at mrandolph24 and I am at Todd J. Awesome. If you like the show so much and you want to help financially support it, please do by going to patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where you can get a lot of great levels and a lot of great stuff like bonus episodes, director's cut episodes where they're a little bit longer and you get them actually a day earlier than the regular feed drop. We do a lot of great things like listener requests and stuff like that. So guys, check out the Patreon and help support the show.
If you want to financially support me, but not Todd, just look me up on Venmo.
If you can't financially support the show, that's understandable. That's fine. But if you want to hang out with us on the daily, join the Facebook group at facebook.com/group/horrorvirgin. We also link it like once a week. So just find it there and join the awesome Facebook group. Literally, we're in there talking every day. It's awesome. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So send us some stuff.
Yeah.
And if you want to check out our Twitch stream, we're at twitch.tv/Todd Awesome, where we will be playing horror video games. So if you have always wondered what it would be like to watch me get scared, you can now do that on Twitch while I play these horror games. It's twitch.tv/Todd Awesome, guys. Check it out. It's a lot of fun for you. Not a lot of fun for me. And if you haven't noticed, since October 1st, we have been running the new Horror Virgin blog. And when I say we, I really mean Katie from the Facebook group. She's been running everything. She's like the managing editor of the Horror Virgin blog. So if you haven't been to our Horror Virgin blog, go check it out. It's at horrorvirgin.com/blog. You'll see it. It's awesome. There's a lot of great articles. I mean, at the end of October, we have 31 awesome articles up. But check out our awesome Horror Virgin blog up now. This episode was brought to you by Tia. And Tia has a teenager that's just driving her crazy. So how is Tia's teenager driving her crazy this week?
She keeps drawing pictures of the other neighborhood kids being hit by cars and giving it to their mothers.
Yeah.
That is pretty messed up, but like, does she have a good reason? Like, I guess my question is,
Wow.
Are those kids shitty?
You know,
Maybe Tia just needs to dig into it more. Maybe there's other things going on.
I'm not going to parent someone else's kid right now.
Yeah, Tia, you're the parent, you handle it. But this episode was also brought to you by a man named Jonathan. Jonathan wants me to show you guys some videos, so I'm going to share my screen right now. So this is the video. It's every 80s movie has a Mentos scene, and it's showing, they dropped the music into, that's great. It's
Tremors.
Well,
Tremors.
first off, Tremors is a 90s movie, so.
Also, I'm just admiring Fred Ward.
I know, dude. Fred Ward was great.
Mhm.
Mentos freshness.
Those precious.
Fresh goes better with Mentos
Mentos
freshness.
freshness.
Bum, bum, bum. Honestly, that does line up really well.
Does line
That
up
is
really
awesome.
well.
Jonathan, thank you so much for sending that video, and thank you so much for the support. We appreciate it. We now return you to another slightly confusing and maybe perhaps out of time episode of The Patreonicals.
Okay. Here we are.
Hell yeah. Where are we, Mikey?
In deep space.
I mean, we used to be in the space around Planet Crouton, but Planet Crouton got blown to bits.
yeah.
Delicious, delicious bready bits.
Now it's just regular space now because
Yeah.
the planet, like if 1,000,000 voices cried out all at once. Okay.
Thank you, Obi Mike Kenobi.
There's a giant moon that looks just like our moon. It's a spaceship. It's the mothership.
That's no moon.
It's
Is it
not.
the Munder ship?
It's the mothership.
So
yes,
they
excellent.
built a spaceship that looks like the moon because that was their home.
Yes.
I honestly love that for them.
Danielle, the Moon Queen, is bathing in the tears of the conquered and is very much enjoying it.
All right.
Aaron, the Moon General, was like, okay, good. The planet-killing weapon does work. This is fantastic news for us. Yes, Libby is just staring at Wes, who is now in their cage, and he's just very handsome. So they're just staring at him and making him do different poses.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like having the Mona Lisa on your wall. Like, he's that handsome. People are like lining up to come see this
Yes.
dude.
Yeah, well, and then he's the father of maybe half of the Mun population at this point. We cloned him for like a year, or he had Mun babies grow out of his Voldemort body for like a year.
That is true. Okay. So he, like, a lot of people are just coming and being like, oh, hey, Dad.
And he's like, I don't like this. Yeah. Have y'all ever seen the movie Mom and Dad Save the World?
No.
What?
I don't remember made-for-TV movies from 1993.
It's not a made-for-TV
I'm
movie.
sure. Yeah, it sounds like a high-budget, awesome movie.
It was a high-budget movie. I'm sure it bombed. But anyway, we have real... Patreonicals has real Mom and Dad Save the World vibes going on. It's just a joke that one person out there will get. Thank you. All right. Back on the Santa Maria Donut ship.
Before we move on, can I just say that Mom and Dad Save the World is a 1992 sci-fi comedy? So I was very close when I said 1993 or whatever.
I mean, yeah, that's a good time frame.
But John Lovitz is in it. Jeffrey Jones is in it. So it's got some actors.
One of the races is like really dumb, and there's a grenade that just says "pick me up," and every time they pick it up, it kills everyone who picks it up.
Okay. Now I understand how that has very Patreonicals energy.
Yeah. Yes, in the ship they've landed. Because they're injured. The ship's broken.
There's the word. Nailed
Word
it.
I
You
would
found
like.
it.
Yes, we've taken damage. And they've landed. Amy sets it down with Captain Bruder. Captain Bruder's like, Amy, set us down right there. And they're on another planet, and it's a beautiful, lush garden of a planet.
Nice.
And
okay.
they're like, hey, what about that new robot Sunzi? And go check it out. So the nanobites, he goes, okay. And it like all goes out.
Wait, Sunzi is nanobites?
It's a AI robot nanobots.
So he is like Million Ants from that one Rick and Morty episode, but he's made up of nanobots?
Yeah.
That actually is a very terrifying robot design to me.
Yeah, it's pretty scary, but
Yeah.
it's fine. But it's safe, and it's like it's like pure Jurassic. It's like Jurassic Park-ish. So they get out.
Oh, you mean
Karun-
like the planet is?
Yeah. So Karun gets out, kills a raptor, and starts eating it. For reasons.
Right, because he's hungry.
Right. Kate gets out and is like having to like move the wings around with her mind. To
The
fix
wings?
It. The whole ship's fucked up, Like they're trying to fix it.
Yeah, okay.
Driscoll is building the time device again of like, we've got to get to a different timeline. This one really sucks.
Yeah.
And Jennifer with a PH and Anthony are with them, and they're like, what if we make a sliders-like device to go into the multiverse?
Oh, no.
And they're like, well, that's going to
no.
take a lot of research. This should be the B plot moving forward. And they're like, exactly. So that's what those three are working on. Shining Donut, he has grown some sprinkles to feed to dinosaurs around the ship.
Wow, I love that.
Nathan, the professional wrestler, is tanning because he's lost some of his fake tan in space.
He's like, listen, if I can't do laundry and gym, I'm at least going to tan.
Yeah. Allie the mermaid also tanning because she's lost some of her tan next to him. It's a relaxation episode.
Right.
Which is a transitional episode, as they call it.
They're just hanging out on the beach.
Yes. Jeremy with the laser eyes is still mourning the loss of his toe, but is also tanning topless.
I can't wait till Mikey writes down a second thing about this character.
Who knows? He's got laser eyes and he's lost a toe. That's two things.
Right, yeah. He's been real sad about his toe for like a month.
Todd, if you lost a toe, how sad would you be and how long?
God damn it, Mikey. I hate that you're sort of right. It would be at least a month.
Yeah, at least a month.
All right. Sorry, Jeremy. I didn't mean to step in the way of your grief process.
Cody sets up. Cody and Boezy are kidnapping local flora and fauna to supply their pawn shop, and they're in all sorts of shenanigans out there with that.
And keep in mind that they are using Boezy's space jet ski that he invented last episode that Mikey forgot about.
Yeah, and they're lassoing shit up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a speeder from Star Wars, but it can go up into space too. It's like a
But it's just a ski-doo. Lauren, the cave person, is knocking the shit out of dinosaurs and
Hell
making
yeah.
big dinosaur steaks, which I think we've done before, but they're doing it again. It was a big hit.
nice.
Mr. Rage Bomb is also tanning with the rest of the crew.
I mean, that's how he charges. He's got to get that solar power
he's getting
inside
some
of him so
solar
he can
stuff
explode.
going.
Yeah, that just makes sense.
Vance the serial killer is tied up completely by Karateka because
no.
she's like, there's no NPCs for him to murder this week. Let's keep him contained.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Sophia the time cop has been kidnapped by Anthony the magician, who is basically like the Darth Vader for the Muns because everyone hates magicians. But
They don't trust him for sure.
right. And Anthony's like, he kidnapped her off that planet on his own special starfighter, which we'll get into that later. But he's like, what are they working on? So he's taking them back to the Death Mun. And then Wolfric is finally turned back into a person, and then he is also tanning. So that's great. Karun and Natasha have grief sex about their planet blowing up.
Oh,
And it's awkward. It's awkward for everyone else.
It's awkward to hear about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into it more next week. And that's our episode.
Well, I guess we'll have to find out what Mikey has in store next week on another episode of
The
Patreonicals.
Articles.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah.
Have a great week.
Bye. Your pop figurines are going to come to life and kill you, nerds.